Chapter 310. Their journey out of the Great Douluo forest was exceptionally smooth, and there weren't any soul beasts that came out to find trouble with them. Lu Yuan felt that it was probably because Jiu Yuana had arranged for Di Tian to escort them in secret. However, Di Tian might have hidden himself, and Lu Yuan didn't discover him. However, Lu Yuan couldn't be bothered with whether he was hiding or not. After stepping out of the Great Douluo forest, Lu Yuan immediately rushed towards Soto City. He wanted to return to Shrek and leave with his little kitten. It would be a waste of time if he continued to stay in Shrek, and there was no need for him to do so. If he were to leave, Shrek Academy would completely fall apart. It was actually quite a distance from the Great Douluo forest to Shrek Academy, but Lu Yuan was extremely fast. He rushed at full speed, and when there was no one around, he would release his martial soul and use his dragon wings to fly. In less than a day and a half, Lu Yuan had rushed back to Soto City in the afternoon of the second day. This was much faster than when he left. Lu Yuan had a meal in Soto City to fill his stomach. After that, he found a place to take a shower. After all, he was covered in sweat after the long journey. After cleaning himself up, Lu Yuan began to return to Shrek Academy. It was already dark, but the roads were covered by a layer of silver gauze. The bright moon was in the sky, and there were many stars. The night sky was exceptionally beautiful. However, Lu Yuan didn't have the time to appreciate such a beautiful scene. He tapped his toes lightly, and his body drifted into Shrek Academy like the wind. Lu Yuan didn't care about anything else, and returned to his small wooden house. Just as Lu Yuan entered the academy, on the roof of an unremarkable wooden house in Shrek, a black-clothed elder suddenly opened his eyes. "Master is back." He revealed a relaxed look in his eyes. His eyes were like lightning as he sized up everything in Shrek Academy. Lu Yuan was very quick. Before long, two small wooden houses appeared in front of Lu Yuan. One belonged to Zhu Zhuqing, while the other belonged to him. Zhu Zhuqing's wooden house was pitch black, but his wooden house was brightly lit. It was obvious that someone was inside. Lu Yuan lightened his footsteps and walked forward slowly. Through the gap in the door, Lu Yuan could see Zhu Zhuqing's delicate body curled up on his bed. Her arms were hugging his bed tightly, as if she was hugging something important. Occasionally, she sniffed, as if she was trying to smell the scent that Lu Yuan had left behind. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing's adorable wrinkle of her nose, Lu Yuan could not help but smile. Creak. Lu Yuan pushed the door open and Zhu Zhuqing was startled. She looked up and saw Lu Yuan smiling at her. Lu Yuan. Zhu Zhuqing's beautiful eyes couldn't help but widen. Her charming face revealed a huge surprise. Her body suddenly bounced up, and with a wisp of fragrance, she crashed into Lu Yuan's embrace. "Lu Yuan, I was so worried about you." Zhu Zhuqing hugged Lu Yuan's waist tightly. Her body couldn't help but tremble. Bean-sized teardrops fell from her eyes and wet Lu Yuan's shoulder. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing's trembling body, Lu Yuan couldn't help but feel a sense of pity from the bottom of his heart. His hands suddenly climbed up Zhu Zhuqing's waist and hugged her tightly in his arms. Gently patting Zhu Zhuqing's back, Lu Yuan said in a gentle tone, "Zhuqing, it's okay. I'm back." Under Lu Yuan's constant comforting, Zhu Zhuqing finally calmed down. "Lu Yuan." Zhu Zhuqing wriggled out of Lu Yuan's embrace. Her lively big eyes flickered with tears. Looking at Lu Yuan, her eyes were filled with deep affection. "Kiss me," Zhu Zhuqing said softly. Hearing Zhu Zhuqing's words, Lu Yuan was stunned. Immediately, he lowered his head and covered Zhu Zhuqing's cherry lips. His right foot hooked the door, and gently, he closed the door completely. Zhu Zhuqing was particularly wild this time. She used all her strength to claim Lu Yuan's lips, even leaving teeth marks. She hugged Lu Yuan tightly, as if she was hugging her whole world. The two kissed all the way to the bed, and then both of them fell down. The next day, early morning, the gentle sunlight shone in. Lu Yuan habitually covered his face. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing, who was curled up in his arms, sleeping peacefully like a cat, Lu Yuan could not help but smile. This girl was really lovable. Under her cold appearance, there was a fiery passion and a unique wildness. She was indeed a little wild cat. She was very docile when she was quiet, but once she exploded, she was also very wild. Touching his lips, the skin was still broken, and there were faint teeth marks that had not disappeared. These were all left by Zhu Zhuqing last night. To be honest, this was the first time Lu Yuan had seen Zhu Zhuqing like this. If Lu Yuan had not steeled his will last night and rejected Zhu Zhuqing, what was done would have been done. Zhu Zhuqing was still too young, only 12 years old. Lu Yuan really could not do it. But then again, although this girl was young, she was really tempting. Lu Yuan also spent a lot of effort to control himself. He had to admit that she was really a little seductress. Lu Yuan was thinking when a pair of jade-like arms suddenly wrapped around his neck. Zhu Zhuqing's pretty face was pressed against his cheek. Her breath smelled like orchids. "You slept so late last night. Why didn't you sleep a little longer? You still have the nerve to say that." Lu Yuan slightly glared at Zhu Zhuqing. If this girl had not deliberately tempted him and made him unable to resist, would he have been tossing and turning in bed, unable to sleep? "You're the one who didn't want to, not me." Zhu Zhuqing rolled her big eyes, and a rare playful expression appeared on her cold face. "Mph, I'm doing it for your own good. You're still using such words to provoke me." Lu Yuan rolled his eyes. Fortunately, Zhu Zhuqing was still young. If it were Hu Liana, he would have devoured her until not even her bones were left. Fart. Zhu Zhuqing looked at Lu Yuan's appearance and couldn't help but laugh. Soon after, her tone became gentle. "I know you dote on me and love me. To be able to follow you is my life's fortune," Zhu Zhuqing said and kissed Lu Yuan's cheek. Lu Yuan smiled and tightly hugged Zhu Zhuqing's tender body. "Lu Yuan, in the future, don't leave me alone, okay? This time, I'm really worried about you. I'm afraid that something will happen to you. If something happens to you, then what should I do? I can only go with you." Zhu Zhuqing's eyes were filled with deep affection. Her tone was gentle, but it was also filled with deep love. "Ian, I won't leave you alone. No matter where I go, I will take you with me. I won't let you worry and be afraid anymore." Hearing Zhu Zhuqing's words, Lu Yuan's heart warmed. He stroked Zhu Zhuqing's cheek and said softly. Chapter 3:11. Lu Yuan, what are you going to do later? Zhu Zhuqing asked as she put on her clothes piece by piece in front of Lu Yuan without hesitation. "Oh, don't you have any classes in the academy?" Lu Yuan asked as he sized up Zhu Zhuqing's petite figure with interest. "No, the dean and that master have been busy treating Tang San for the past 2 days. I haven't had any classes for a few days," Zhu Zhuqing said. "Huh." Lu Yuan smiled faintly. It seemed like Tang San's injuries weren't light. However, it made sense when he thought about it. He hadn't recovered from his injuries from Lu Yuan's beating, and he had been injured a few more times. The severity of his injuries might have affected his future potential. Furthermore, he had witnessed Tang Hao die at the hands of the Sky Azure Bull Python, and he had become estranged from his sister, Xiao Wu. This was a psychological and physical blow, and Tang San was probably going to collapse. Even if Tang San could recover, his personality would probably change drastically. Thinking about it, Tang San was really quite pitiful. Lu Yuan actually felt a little embarrassed. However, Lu Yuan extinguished this thought in the blink of an eye. He couldn't be merciful to his enemies. "Is Tang San awake?" Lu Yuan asked again. He woke up twice. He said that the Sky Azure Bull Python killed the vast heaven Douluo, and that Xiao Wu was a 100,000-year soul beast. However, he fainted again after a few sentences, Zhu Zhuqing said. "Oh, is that so?" Lu Yuan rubbed his chin and asked, "What about Daimubai? That guy didn't play any tricks on you, did he?" To be honest, Lu Yuan really wanted to kill Daimubai right now. He didn't care so much. It didn't matter if there was someone secretly coveting him, but he was afraid that he would cause trouble for Zhu Zhuqing. This was something that Lu Yuan would not allow. Rather than leaving him alone to cause trouble, it was better to get rid of him now. As for what the Star Luo Empire thought, it had nothing to do with Lu Yuan. It was just a prince. Would the Sionra Empire attack him? Impossible. Perhaps Davis would even thank him. Furthermore, he had Long Xiaoyao to protect him. What was there to be afraid of? Not really. I don't know why, but Dai Mubai disappeared after returning to the academy. He hasn't shown his face for a few days now, Zhu Zhuqing said. Oh. Lu Yuan was a little surprised. Could it be that Dai Mubai had foresight and knew that he was going to make a move on him? That's impossible. I just had this idea. Long Xiaoyao must have been frightened by what he said when he asked him to stay by Zhu Qing's side. After all, he didn't hide his killing intent at all. Dai Mubai must have been scared, so he ran away in advance. Let's just say that this guy is lucky. I'll deal with him when I meet him in the future. After all, he's just a small character with mediocre talent. Lu Yuan thought for a while and threw Dai Mubai aside. Anyway, Zhu Zhuqing was with him now, so there wouldn't be any danger. Zhuqing, I think it's time for us to leave. Why don't you follow me back to the Martial Soul Palace? We'll meet teacher together, Lu Yuan said as he looked at Zhu Zhuqing's beautiful face. Ah! Zhu Zhuqing was shocked when she heard Lu Yuan's words. Lu Yuan's teacher was the Pope of the Martial Soul Palace. Would she accept her? Zhu Zhuqing was a little nervous. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing's expression, how could Lu Yuan not know what she was thinking? He walked to Zhu Zhuqing's side and hugged her waist. He said, "Don't worry. Teacher is a very gentle person. She's easy to get along with. She'll definitely like you." Really? Zhu Zhuqing could not help but raise her head and look straight at Lu Yuan with her beautiful eyes. Of course. Lu Yuan scratched Zhu Zhuqing's nose and said, "Moreover, an ugly daughter-in-law will have to meet her parents-in-law. You'll have to meet teacher with me sooner or later. You can't run away. After meeting teacher, I'll bring you to meet my father. He raised me since I was young. Without him, I would have died long ago. He's the person I respect and love the most." Speaking of Bibi Dong, Lu Yuan had a strange feeling towards her. He respected her as a teacher, but more than that, she was like a caring big sister. She was gentle, intelligent, and caring for him in every possible way. It was a little difficult to treat her as an elder. Although Bibidon was over 40 years old, she was still as elegant as a young girl. It was really hard to treat her as an elder. However, the fellows was someone Lu Yuan truly treated as an elder. Without him, Lu Yuan would have died long ago. He usually called him old man because they had a good relationship. Lu Yuan decided to find a time to bring the fellows to the Martial Soul Palace. It wasn't safe for him to stay in Notting City alone. After all, he was now a member of the Martial Soul Palace. In the future, he would definitely be at odds with many forces. Those people couldn't touch him, but he was afraid that they would make a move on the fellows. It would be safer to bring him to the Martial Soul Palace. Moreover, the fellows was old. It was time for him to enjoy his life. This was his duty as a child. Oh. Zhu Zhuqing nodded. Then, she seemed to have realized something. Her beautiful eyes glanced at Lu Yuan and said, "Who are you calling an ugly daughter-in-law? Am I that ugly?" Zhu Zhuqing glared at Lu Yuan with her beautiful eyes and questioned. "All right, I was wrong. My Zhuqing is the prettiest. She's a natural beauty, peerless in her generation, and devastatingly beautiful." Lu Yuan opened his mouth and praised her. "You only know how to say nice things to make me happy." Zhu Zhuqing glanced at Lu Yuan with her beautiful eyes, but her charming face was full of smiles. Hee hee. Lu Yuan chuckled. He hugged Zhu Zhuqing and kissed her. "Wait a minute." Zhu Zhuqing stopped Lu Yuan. "What's wrong?" Lu Yuan looked at Zhu Zhuqing in confusion. "I haven't finished putting on my clothes yet." Zhu Zhuqing pointed at her half-worn outer clothes. Seeing this, Lu Yuan's eyes lit up. The corner of his mouth curled into a mischievous smile. "Come, Zhuqing, I'll help you put it on." You're naughty." Zhu Zhuqing's shy voice sounded. Holding Zhu Zhuqing's hand, Lu Yuan walked with her to the teacher's office. He was about to leave, so he had to say goodbye. After all, they had to part on good terms. When they arrived in front of Flender's door, Zhao Wuji and the master were both there. When Lu Yuan arrived, Zhao Wuji happened to see him. His eyes instantly lit up. "Lu Yuan, you're back?" Zhao Wuji's voice was like muffled thunder. His short but sturdy body suddenly stood up with a pleasantly surprised expression on his face. When Flender and the master heard Zhao Wuji's voice, they also cast their gazes over. Seeing the concern on Zhao Wuji's face, Lu Yuan's mouth curled into a smile. Zhao Wuji was the person he got along with the most in Shrek Academy. After a year, the two of them fought every few days. They were already very familiar with each other. And he was also the only person Lu Yuan acknowledged in Shrek Academy. Chapter 312. Teacher Zhao. Lu Yuan nodded at Zhao Wuji. Lu Yuan, you're back? Flender's face was also full of surprise. After all, Lu Yuan was a student of Shrek Academy, and he was the most outstanding one. Flender still cared about him. However, the master didn't have any expression on his face. He still had a zombie face and only nodded at Lu Yuan indifferently. Lu Yuan naturally didn't care. Anyway, they hated each other now. As long as the master didn't cause trouble, he couldn't be bothered with him. Yes, I'm back. I arrived at the academy last night, Lu Yuan said. Quick, come in, don't stand outside. Zhao Wuji chuckled and invited Lu Yuan into the office. Lu Yuan, who was the one who took you away that day? He didn't look like a human. Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing had just stood still when the master asked his question in a stiff tone. Furthermore, he asked a question that Lu Yuan didn't want to answer. Ignoring the master at the side, Lu Yuan said to Flender and Zhao Wuji, Dean, Teacher Zhao, I might have to leave. Leave? Flender was shocked and hurriedly asked, Why do you want to leave? Did something happen? Yes, it's mainly because I've stayed in the academy for too long. I feel that there's no point in continuing to study. After all, I've already reached rank 46. I want to train on the continent for a while and hone myself. Lu Yuan didn't hide and directly spoke his thoughts. That's true. You're already rank 46 and can graduate. The academy really can't help you much. Flender sighed. Although Lu Yuan's words were straightforward, he had to admit that it was true. Shrek Academy really didn't have much use for Lu Yuan, and they couldn't teach Lu Yuan anything. Lu Yuan had been arranging his own cultivation matters since he joined for more than a year. Whether it was him or the other teachers, they couldn't help. On the other hand, Zhao Wuji had been his sparring partner for a year and was the only resource provided by Shrek Academy. Is Zhu Zhuqing going with you? Flender asked. Of course. Wherever I go, Zhuqing will follow me. Lu Yuan squeezed Zhu Zhuqing's small hand, his eyes filled with affection. Zhu Zhuqing raised her head and glanced at Lu Yuan. Her heart was filled with sweetness as she silently held Lu Yuan's hand tightly. Hearing this, Flender sighed. After Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing left, Shrek would be left with only a few big cats and small cats. However, he had no reason to keep Lu Yuan and the others. It was Lu Yuan's freedom to leave. Well, when are you going to leave? Flender asked. Tomorrow. I'm going to bring Zhuqing back to see my teacher. It's time for us to set off, Lu Yuan said. Is that so? Fine, I'll personally send you off tomorrow, Flender said. Thank you, Dean, Lu Yuan said with a smile. As he spoke, he was about to leave with Zhu Zhuqing. Seeing that Lu Yuan was about to leave, the master's voice sounded. There was even a hint of questioning in his voice. Lu Yuan, you haven't answered my question. His tone was very displeased. He seemed to be angry that Lu Yuan was ignoring him. Hearing this, Lu Yuan's gaze was indifferent. He looked at the master without any emotion. Do I need to explain anything to you? Take care of that useless disciple of yours first. You didn't even educate your own disciple properly, and you're still meddling in my business. After he finished speaking, he ignored the master and left with Zhu Zhuqing. What a joke. How could Di Tian's news be revealed to just anyone? How could he tell others about his relationship with those soul beasts? He hadn't even told Zhu Zhuqing about it, let alone the master. This person was destined to be on a different path from him. The next day, at the entrance of Shrek Academy, Shrek's teachers were all gathered at the entrance. Of course, the master wasn't around. However, it was good that he wasn't around. Oscar, Ma Hongjun, and Ning Rongrong were also here. You're leaving? Ning Rongrong blinked and asked. Yes. Lu Yuan nodded. Then where are you going? Ning Rongrong asked. I'm going back to see my teacher. After that, my whereabouts are unknown. I'll just go wherever I go, Lu Yuan said. Oh. Ning Rongrong acknowledged softly. Boss Yuan, are you leaving? Ma Hongjun moved in front of Lu Yuan and pretended to be sad. Boss Yuan, I can't bear to part with you. Get lost, damn fatty. Lu Yuan pushed Ma Hongjun away and said, I think you're afraid that no one will treat you to a meal after I leave, right? He rolled his eyes. Ma Hongjun was such a heartless fellow. He believed that he couldn't bear to part with a woman. Couldn't bear to part with him? Forget it then. Take care. Oscar nodded. His expression suddenly became a little wretched. He flipped his palm, and a few recovery sausages appeared. I don't have anything to give you. I'll just give you a few sausages to eat on the road. Oscar smiled brightly. Get lost. Lu Yuan scolded with a smile. His head was full of black lines. How could he give a few sausages to eat on the road? This Oscar was still so frivolous. Wretched. Ning Rongrong couldn't help but twitch her mouth. There was some disdain in her eyes. Lu Yuan, take care. After the students were done, the teachers also waved their hands and said goodbye to Lu Yuan. Yes, teachers, take care too, Lu Yuan said. He flipped his palm, and a black cloth bag appeared in Lu Yuan's hand. Lu Yuan walked towards Zhao Wuji and handed the black cloth bag to him. He said, Teacher Zhao, I've troubled you to fight with me for the past year. You've helped me improve a lot. I didn't prepare anything before I left. Take this as a token of my appreciation. I hope you won't reject it. Seeing that Zhao Wuji wanted to say something, Lu Yuan stopped him in advance. All right. Zhao Wuji sighed and took the black cloth bag. The thing inside was heavy and very hard. There was also a surge of energy surging through it. This made Zhao Wuji a little surprised. It seemed that this thing given by Lu Yuan was not cheap. Teacher Zhao, before I leave, I'll remind you again. Don't get involved in Master Tang Sanha's matter. It's too dangerous. Moreover, Master Tang Sanha is a little paranoid. In order to prove his theory, he's a little crazy. It's best for you to stay away from him. Lu Yuan forced his voice into a line and transmitted it into Zhao Wuji's ears. Hearing this, Zhao Wuji's body trembled. He looked at Lu Yuan's serious expression and slowly nodded his head. To be honest, Zhao Wuji didn't like Master Tang Sanha. These two people were a little sinister and not magnanimous enough. They didn't suit Zhao Wuji's taste. However, the relationship between Master Tang Sanha and Flender was very good. Zhao Wuji didn't want to embarrass Flender. However, after listening to Lu Yuan's words, he decided to stay away from Master Tang Sanha. At the same time, he also wanted to persuade Flender not to blindly believe in Master Tang Sanha and to have his own judgment. Then I'll take my leave. Take care of yourself. Lu Yuan smiled and nodded to everyone. He took Zhu Zhuqing's hand and floated away. Chapter 313. Lu Yuan left, and he left without hesitation. Holding Zhu Zhuqing's hand, Lu Yuan began his journey back to the Martial Soul Palace. Looking at Lu Yuan's back, Ning Rongrong's eyes flickered. She glanced at Oscar and Ma Hongjun beside her, as if she had made a decision. Old Zhao, what did Lu Yuan give you? Flender was a greedy person. Seeing how Lu Yuan handed this item to Zhao Wuji so solemnly, he immediately had an idea. With Lu Yuan's status, even an ultimate Douluo called him Lord. This item must be something good. I'm not sure. It feels very long and hard. Furthermore, it has dense energy undulations. Zhao Wuji opened the black bag as he spoke. Suddenly, a dark golden light shone out. This was a dark golden right arm bone, and it was very complete. Not only did it have a forearm bone, but it also had a hindarm bone. It was of very high quality. Furthermore, the entire soul bone exuded an intense explosive force. The energy undulations caused all the teachers' eyes to light up. Even Ning Rongrong, who was from the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, couldn't help but be attracted by this soul bone. It's actually a soul bone. Flender's voice became sharp, and his eyes flickered with the color of money. Furthermore, it's a very high-quality strength-type soul bone. It's very compatible with old Zhao. Li Yusong swallowed his saliva and said. The gazes of all the teachers of Shrek Academy were focused on the right arm bone in Zhao Wuji's hand. There was nothing they could do about it, as they were all rogue cultivators with mediocre backgrounds. Other than Flender and Zhao Wuji, who had a low-quality soul bone, the rest of them had never even seen a soul bone before. Today, they had discovered such a high-quality soul bone, which instantly attracted their attention. There's a note here. Zhao Wuji's eyes were sharp, and he quickly discovered a small note placed together with the soul bone. To Teacher Zhao. This soul bone is the right arm bone of a 15,000-year-old dark golden terraclaw bear. It's in good shape, and its quality is excellent. The dark golden terraclaw bear is known for its offensive power, and it isn't any weaker than the Titan giant ape of the same rank. It's a transcendent soul beast, and it's comparable to a normal 100,000-year soul beast when it's 10,000 years old. This soul bone is a strength-type soul bone, and it's very compatible with Teacher Zhao. I hope you'll use it well, and don't sell it for petty gains. Lu Yuan is here. Zhao Wuji read out the words on the note word by word. Immediately, all the teachers present were shocked. The dark golden terraclaw bear is a transcendent soul beast on par with the Titan giant ape. Old Zhao, Lu Yuan's gift is too great. Li Yusong sucked in a breath of cold air. What a big deal. Flender was a little surprised as he said, Old Zhao, since Lu Yuan said so, you should absorb it. It would be a pity to sell such a good soul bone. He originally had this thought, but after hearing what was written on the note, he realized that this soul bone came from a 15,000-year dark golden terraclaw bear, a super soul beast that was comparable to the Titan giant ape. In that case, this soul bone was too precious. Only an idiot would sell it. Therefore, it was better to let Zhao Wuji absorb it. After all, this was a gift from Lu Yuan to Zhao Wuji. Yes. Zhao Wuji nodded and held the soul bone tightly in his hand. He was touched. Lu Yuan was really good to him. Ma Hongjun and Oscar looked at each other, and their eyes were filled with envy. Who wouldn't want a soul bone? Furthermore, it was a soul bone from a transcendent soul beast like the dark golden terraclaw bear. It was a treasure. How could they not be envious of their humble backgrounds? Even Ning Rongrong was shocked. It was very difficult for the Seven Treasures Glazed sect to produce a soul bone of such quality. A transcendent soul beast soul bone was something that could only be chanced upon. Even though it was only 15,000 year, even a soul bone above 50,000 year might not be comparable to it. The key was that it was so compatible with Zhao Wuji. That was even rarer. However, this showed that Lu Yuan's character was very good. Zhao Wuji had fought with him for more than a year. Although it was tough, it was definitely not comparable to the right arm bone of a dark golden terraclaw bear. However, Lu Yuan still gave it to him. This showed that he cared about his feelings, and not just a soul bone. Lu Yuan was really not an ordinary man. He gave away such a precious soul bone just like that. This was really making people more and more interested. In an old wooden hut, Tang San slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were bloodshot, and they were still filled with blood vessels. His face was pale, and there was no trace of blood. His lips were slightly cracked, and it seemed like he was seriously injured. At this moment, he opened his bloodshot eyes, and his expression was a little ferocious. Little San, you're awake? Master immediately realized that Tang San had woken up, and hurried to his side. Teacher. Tang San's throat moved slightly, and his voice was a little hoarse. Master felt a little uneasy when he looked at him with his bloodshot eyes. However, Tang San was the disciple that Master cared about the most. He was also the disciple that Master had devoted his life to. It could be said that whether or not his theory could be proven to the world all depended on Tang San. Furthermore, he and Tang San had been master and disciple for 6 years, and their relationship was very deep. Little San, are you all right? Master asked. Tang San shook his head gently. He moved his body slightly, but he found that his body was a little weak, and he couldn't exert any strength. Little San, Don't move. Let me help you. Seeing that Tang San was struggling, the master quickly helped Tang San up and let him lean against the headboard. Teacher, my father is dead. Tang San's voice was calm, but there was an indescribable coldness in it. I know. You told me when you woke up, Master said. My father was killed by the Titan giant ape and the sky azure bull python. I'm going to kill them to avenge my father. If it weren't for Xiao Wu, my father wouldn't have died. Tang San's calm voice was tinged with a hint of pain, as well as a hint of terrifying hatred. Master's heart jolted slightly at the sight of Tang San's bloodshot eyes. Tang San was currently giving him a sense of danger. Little San, the sky azure bull python and the Titan giant ape are more powerful than the average titled Douluo. You won't be able to defeat them in your current state, so don't do anything rash. Master hurriedly cautioned as he was afraid that Tang San would be blinded by rage. Don't worry, teacher, I won't do anything rash. Tang San replied in an indifferent voice. Hearing Tang San's words, the Grandmaster looked at Tang San's blood-red eyes, but he couldn't stop worrying. He knew Tang San's personality all too well. He valued relationships very much, and when the people around him encountered major changes, it was very easy for such a person to go astray. He was afraid that Tang San's desire for revenge would lead to irreversible consequences. Chapter 3:14. Teacher, I don't want to stay in Shrek Academy anymore after I recover from my injuries. This place can't help me much, Tang San said softly. Alright, this place is indeed of no use to you. Teacher will help you find a place that will be of great help to you. Over there, your strength will definitely increase very quickly. Tang San nodded. What place? Tang San stared straight at the Grandmaster. Seeing Tang Hao die in front of him, struck by the sky azure bull python's lightning and reduced his body to ashes, was a huge blow to Tang San. Tang San was now a little paranoid and even a little twisted. He desperately wanted to find anything that could increase his strength. The Clear Sky Sect? Master asked. The Clear Sky Sect. The number one sect in the world. Tang San looked at Master with a puzzled expression. What did the Clear Sky Sect have to do with him? Master seemed to have seen through Tang San's confusion, and said, the Clear Sky Sect's inherited martial soul is the Clear Sky Hammer. Do you know the name of your second martial soul? Could it be? Tang San immediately reacted. That's right. Your second martial soul is the Clear Sky Hammer. Your father is the Clear Sky Douluo Tang Hao, who once shook the entire continent. Both of you are from the Clear Sky Sect. Although your father's name has been removed from the Clear Sky Sect, his bones are still connected. The current sect master of the Clear Sky Sect is your father's blood brother, your uncle. He has always had a good relationship with your father. After hearing the news of your father's death, he will definitely protect you. You can also learn the true abilities of the Clear Sky Hammer from him, the master said. My father is from the Clear Sky Sect. My second martial soul is the number one tool martial soul in the world, the Clear Sky Hammer. Tang San's voice was tinged with a hint of astonishment. He didn't think that his father would have such a powerful background. Teacher, can you tell me more about my father? Tang San desperately wanted to know everything about his father, Tang Hao. He wanted to know why a titled Douluo like him would work as a blacksmith in the Holy Soul Village. Tang San had too many questions in his heart. Alright, I'll tell you what I know. Master began to slowly explain. After that, your father became a titled Douluo, and used his Clear Sky Hammer to defeat 3 titled Douluo from the Martial Soul Palace. Even the Pope was killed not long after he returned to the Martial Soul Palace, and the name of the Clear Sky Douluo resounded throughout the continent. The master spoke slowly with a hint of reverence in his tone. After all, he used to regard Tang Hao as his idol. This was because Tang Hao had dared to swing his hammer at Chihiro Disease, the Pope of the Martial Soul Palace. Perhaps this was something that the master had always wanted to do, but was unable to do. Therefore, after Tang Hao did it, the master regarded him as his idol. This conjecture was not impossible. My father is actually so powerful. Hearing the master talk about Tang Hao's glorious deeds, Tang San felt proud. However, my father is a titled Douluo. Why would he live in a small village and get drunk every day? Tang San was very perplexed. If his father was so powerful, then why did he always look so dejected? He didn't look like a titled Douluo at all. I'm not sure about that, either. Perhaps it has something to do with your mother, the master said. Aside from the martial soul palace and the clear sky sect, no one knew much about Tang Hao's past, and the master only knew some rumors. Is that so? Tang San blinked his crimson eyes, and a thought suddenly occurred to him. Teacher, if my father is so powerful that he can defeat 3 titled Douluos, then why was he killed by the sky azure bull python and the titan giant ape so easily? If Tang Hao really was as powerful as the master described him to be, then the battle shouldn't have been like the one in the Great Star Do Forest, where he was completely dominated by the 2 soul beasts. If it weren't for the fact that he put his life on the line, he wouldn't even have been able to harm a single hair on the 2 soul beasts. This was why Tang San was very perplexed. That's because your father was already severely injured. In addition, the Titan giant ape and the sky azure bull python are the overlords of soul beasts, so your father naturally wasn't a match for them, the master said. My father was already severely injured. What's going on? Tang San asked. The master told him about how after Tang San was beaten up by Lu Yuan, Tang Hao helped Tang San find trouble with Lu Yuan, and how he was severely injured by the Dragon Emperor Douluo behind Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan. Tang San's crimson eyes flashed with hatred. So you had a part to play in my father's death too. Don't do anything rash, little San. The Dragon Emperor Douluo behind Lu Yuan is too powerful. Even your father wasn't a match for him. Even the Clear Sky sect doesn't dare to offend him. Furthermore, he also has twin martial souls like you, so he's much more powerful than you. It'll be very difficult for you to catch up to him. The master said. He also has twin martial souls. Tang San's voice was filled with astonishment. Wasn't it said that twin martial souls were extremely rare? Why did Lu Yuan have twin martial souls now? Wasn't his martial soul the golden dragon? His second martial spirit was awakened after birth. As for the situation, I'm not too sure either. However, little 3, you shouldn't provoke him. This lad's methods are too ruthless. I'm afraid that he'll harm you. Recalling what Lu Yuan had said and his style of doing things, the Grandmaster was a little worried. He was afraid that Tang San would recklessly provoke Lu Yuan, only to be killed by Lu Yuan. The Grandmaster believed that Lu Yuan would definitely do something like that. Don't forget what happened to Tang San and Tang Hao. Which one of them did not end up lying in bed for a few days? Furthermore, Long Xiaoyaro was too powerful. He had 200,000-year soul rings, and it would be difficult to find a match for him in the entire continent. If Tang San were to mess around, it would be like hitting a rock with an egg. I understand, teacher. Tang San nodded, but he had already made up his mind. He wouldn't let go of anyone related to Tang Hao's death. The sky azure bull python, the titan giant ape, Lu Yuan, and even Xiao Wu, he would make them all pay the price. Yes. The master nodded when he saw Tang San's appearance, and felt a lot more at ease. Little San, you should rest more. Once you've recovered, I'll personally take you to the Clear Sky sect. I'll definitely help you become stronger as soon as possible. The master squeezed out a smile on his stiff face. All right, thank you, teacher. Tang San nodded. You've slept for so long and haven't eaten anything. I'll go get you a bowl of porridge. Your body is too weak, so you can't eat oily food. Porridge is just right. The master rubbed Tang San's head and reminded him before he walked out of the room. Tang San raised his right hand slightly when he saw the master leave, and the blue-silver grass appeared in his hand. The blue-silver grass was different from before. On the blue-silver-purple vines, there was a pure black light spreading from the roots to the leaves. Chapter 315. Old Zhao, is Ning Rongrong gone too? Flender asked as he looked at Zhao Wuji. Zhao Wuji nodded and said, I went to her dormitory, and there was only a letter inside. She's long gone. Flender took the envelope, took out the letter, and read it carefully. This girl returned to the Seven Treasures Glazed sect and said that she came for Lu Yuan. Since Lu Yuan isn't here, there's no need for her to stay. Flender sighed with a somewhat bleak expression. Is that so? Zhao Wuji took the letter from Flender's hand. Sure enough, the contents were the same as what Flender said. Lu Yuan, this brat, has such great charm. Zhao Wuji clicked his tongue and sighed. According to what he knew, other than Zhu Zhuqing, Lu Yuan had a relationship with another girl. He even got together with that girl after leaving school for 3 days. Now, this Ning Rongrong came specifically for him. This little girl's popularity was too good. He's handsome, talented, and most importantly, has a very high status. How can such a man not be liked by girls? Flender glared at Zhao Wuji. He had already seen through everything. In this Douluo continent, women liked men in 3 aspects. The first was appearance, which was the most important. After all, appearance was the most important thing. Regardless of whether it was a man or a woman, they were all visual creatures. Everyone liked good-looking people. The second factor was strength. This was especially true for soul masters, as strength was sometimes more important than one's appearance. The third was power and status. For example, a soul master from the upper 3 sects would definitely be much more popular than a grassroots soul master of the same level. If a man was handsome, strong, and had a deep background, why would he be afraid of not being able to find a wife? It didn't exist. As for money, in the Douluo continent, as long as one had strength and status, they would definitely not lack money. Therefore, money was the least important. However, if the money reached a certain level, such as the level of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect, it would be a different story. But overall, it was the 3 points above. One of the reasons why Shrek's teachers couldn't find wives was because there were too few female soul masters. The other reason was that they weren't unsightly, but they definitely weren't good-looking. Furthermore, they were all independent soul masters, and didn't have any power to rely on. They were even short on gold soul coins, so it was quite difficult for them to find a suitable female soul master as a partner. For example, Zhao Wuji had a burly appearance and a somewhat fiendish expression. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the title of Immovable Wisdom King. Which outstanding female soul master would fancy him? As for the master, he was an exception. Sometimes, Lu Yuan even wondered if Bibidon and Liu Erlong had their intelligence lowered. They actually liked the master. It was really incomprehensible. This Grandmaster could be said to have none. His looks were average, and his strength was lacking. As for his background, he was an abandoned disciple of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. He was mocked in the sect, and he was attracted to these 2 outstanding women just because of his wisdom. One had to know that this was the Douluo continent, a place where strength was revered. It was a little far-fetched to use intelligence to attract them. Furthermore, the master was a typical researcher, and his EQ wasn't high. After hearing Flender's words, Zhao Wuji sighed. Indeed, compared to Lu Yuan, wasn't he just asking for trouble? Thinking of Lu Yuan's peerless charm and breadth of mind, Zhao Wuji had to admit that he had never seen such a young man in his life. Touching his right arm, Zhao Wuji's gaze was gentle with a trace of gratitude. After absorbing this soul bone, his soul power had directly broken through by 1 rank, and he was now at rank 77. Furthermore, this arm bone had given him a powerful skill that allowed him to defeat Flender. In the past, Flender had always suppressed him, but now, Zhao Wuji's strength had surpassed Flender's. Oh right, you said that someone else left? Zhao Wuji asked. Yes, Xiao Gang informed me today, and left with Tang San. Excluding the missing Dai Mubai, our academy only has Oscar and Ma Hongjun left. After saying this, Flender sighed. Old Zhao, do you think there's still a need for our Shrek Academy to continue? Flender looked a little dejected. The current Shrek Academy had very few students, and they were severely lacking in funds. He really didn't know if they should continue. Looking at Flender's desolate appearance, Zhao Wuji also sighed helplessly. He was also at a loss in his heart. With Shrek in its current state, was there really a need to continue? They originally thought that this batch would be the most elite batch, but in the end, some left, some disappeared, and Shrek Academy was about to become an empty shell again. Zhao Wuji also felt very uncomfortable in his heart. But if they didn't continue to establish an academy, Then where should his old brothers go? In a luxurious hotel suite, Lu Yuan stretched lazily on the sofa. He was holding a self-created soul skill in his hand and was trying to figure it out. After more than 2 years, he was really about to complete his self-created soul skill. He had already thought of the framework and rough idea of a powerful technique that fused superb movement techniques and powerful attacks into one. He was just a little bit away from this self-created soul skill. In Lu Yuan's heart, this self-created soul skill was much more powerful than the spear technique, vast ocean that he had created. He had started to think about it before going to the life ruins, and now he had spent more than 2 years polishing it. He was about to see the results. Ta! The bathroom door was pushed open. Zhu Zhuqing was wearing a bathrobe that covered her exquisite body. She was holding a clean towel in her hand and was wiping her wet long hair. "You're done bathing?" At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing's charming face was bright red. Perhaps it was caused by the hot air, but some of her wet long hair gathered together and stuck to Zhu Zhuqing's cheeks. Her long hair was jet black and translucent. Together with Zhu Zhuqing's fair skin that was tinged with pink, it was quite a unique flavor. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Zhu Zhuqing nodded. She walked to Lu Yuan's side and handed the towel in her hand to Lu Yuan. Then she lay down and placed her head on Lu Yuan's lap. Lu Yuan took the towel and helped Zhu Zhuqing wipe the water droplets on her long hair bit by bit. "We're about to reach Martial Spirit City, right?" Zhu Zhuqing asked. This is where Jiling Pass is located, which is considered the border of the Heaven Do Empire. Not far away, we'll reach Martial Spirit City. It'll take at most 2 days. Lu Yuan helped Zhu Zhuqing wipe her long hair seriously as he smiled. Zhu Zhuqing softly acknowledged. Feeling Lu Yuan's current actions, a smile appeared on her charming face. This feeling was really good. Lu Yuan. Suddenly, Zhu Zhuqing seemed to have thought of something and called out softly. Chapter 316. What's wrong? Zhuqing. Lu Yuan's hand that was wiping Zhu Zhuqing's hair paused as he asked. "I am still a little nervous," Zhu Zhuqing said softly. She turned her head slightly and leaned against Lu Yuan's left hand that was by her ear. Ha! Lu Yuan couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. "So this girl is still worried about me even now. It's all right. Teacher is really easy to get along with. Moreover, even if it doesn't work out, don't you still have me? I'll help you," Lu Yuan said as he gently caressed Zhu Zhuqing's face. "Yes, Daimu Bai and I were once engaged. Will Her Holiness have any opinions about this? After all, you are her disciple and have a noble status. However, I have an engagement." Zhu Zhuqing's tone was gentle, but there was a hint of worry that couldn't be erased. "Furthermore, our Zhu family has been connected by marriage with the Star Luo imperial family for generations. Our relationship with the Martial Soul Palace has never been harmonious. I'm really a little afraid that Her Holiness will mind my background, Lu Yuan." Zhu Zhuqing rubbed her face against Lu Yuan's palm, her delicate body trembling slightly. Hearing this, Lu Yuan's brows furrowed slightly. He didn't think that Zhu Zhuqing was actually hiding these things in her heart. He thought that Zhu Zhuqing was really as happy as she appeared on the surface. He didn't think that she would have so many worries. He had neglected his duty. He had been sticking to her every day and hadn't discovered her worries. He only found out when she revealed them at this moment. "Silly girl, you're thinking nonsense again?" Lu Yuan put down the towel with his right hand and pushed Zhu Zhuqing's half-dried hair behind her ear. He looked at Zhu Zhuqing's lively big eyes with a gentle smile on his face. "I'll tell you the truth. Teacher already knows about our matters. Don't forget, my senior sister stays by my teacher's side. How could she not know about our matters? As for the marriage contract, teacher has never cared about those superficial things. As long as your feelings for me are real, as long as you're thinking about me, teacher won't care too much about it. She's the first female pope in the history of the Martial Soul Palace. She's very broad-minded. Why would she care about these things? Also, you said that your Zhu clan and the Star Luo imperial family have been connected by marriage for generations. However, the Zhu clan is the Zhu clan, And you are you. You are Zhu Zhuqing, and you are Lu Yuan's little kitten. You have nothing to do with the Zhu clan, so you don't need to worry about these things. Even if teacher doesn't agree to our relationship, it's useless. No one can change my decision. Since I've decided on you, you, Zhu Zhuqing, will be mine for the rest of your life. You just need to come with me to meet teacher and do your own etiquette. Leave the rest to me. Do you understand? Lu Yuan smiled as he pinched Zhu Zhuqing's nose. Got it. Zhu Zhuqing replied in a small voice. The nervousness on her face disappeared without a trace. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, she felt a lot more at ease. Stroking Zhu Zhuqing's face, Lu Yuan said with a serious expression, Zhuqing, you're my woman. I'll take care of everything for you. You just need to hide behind me and be happy every day. You don't need to think so much. I'll take care of these things for you. En. Zhu Zhuqing nodded. She looked at Lu Yuan with eyes full of love. Lu Yuan. Zhu Zhuqing called out softly. What's wrong, Zhuqing? Lu Yuan looked at Zhu Zhuqing. He didn't know what this little kitten wanted. Let's go to sleep, Zhu Zhuqing said with a red face. Sleep? But your hair isn't dry yet, Lu Yuan said. But I want to sleep. Zhu Zhuqing tilted her head slightly. There was a hint of coquettishness in her voice. All right then. Seeing Zhu Zhuqing's rare coquettish attitude, Lu Yuan naturally couldn't refuse. He gently wrapped his right hand around Zhu Zhuqing's neck and hugged her horizontally into his arms. Then go to sleep early. We still have to wake up early tomorrow, Lu Yuan said with a smile. Is this martial spirit city? It's really bustling. On the wide and flat streets, Lu Yuan held Zhu Zhuqing's hand as they strolled. Zhu Zhuqing couldn't help but sigh when she saw the bustling scene of martial spirit city. It's all right. It's all thanks to teacher's governance, Lu Yuan smiled. Bibidan's methods were indeed very powerful and capable. Under her leadership, the entire martial spirit palace was thriving and becoming much stronger. I think His Holiness the Pope must be a very capable person in power. Zhu Zhuqing nodded gently. The governance of a country could be seen from the people under its governance. Martial Spirit City was exceptionally prosperous. There were all kinds of shops and the streets were clean. It could be said that this was the first time Zhu Zhuqing had seen such a city. It was much better than Star Luo City. Of course, Lu Yuan replied softly. He had never doubted Bibidan's ability. Let's go, Zhuqing. We should go to the Pope's palace to meet teacher as soon as possible. She must already know that we're here, Lu Yuan said. Bibidan's eyes and ears were everywhere in Martial Spirit City. Even the slightest sign of trouble could not be hidden from her. Bibidan would probably know the moment Lu Yuan entered the city. Zhu Zhuqing nodded gently and allowed Lu Yuan to hold her hand as they continued forward. Halt. This is an important place. You cannot trespass. Lu Yuan and Yi Ci were stopped by the paladins. These were the paladins that guarded the Pope's palace. Every one of them was at least a soul ancestor. They were one of the most elite troops in the Martial Spirit Palace. Of course, there were not many of them. Lu Yuan usually appeared in the Pope's palace and the Elder's palace. He rarely went out. In addition, the paladins were rotated every day. It was normal that they did not recognize Lu Yuan. After being stopped, Lu Yuan took out his token. It was a 5th-ranked token that was second only to the Pope's. In the entire Martial Spirit Palace, only he and Hulena had such a token. His identity was self-evident. As for exposing his identity, the paladins were able to protect the Pope's palace because every member was loyal to the Pope. They would never betray him, so there was no need to worry about his identity being exposed. As for the Angel's token, it could be used to mobilize the elders. It had too much power. A mere paladin had no need to take it out. Greetings, Sir Yuan. Seeing the token in Lu Yuan's hand, the paladin immediately bowed and said, Sir Yuan, His Holiness the Pope has ordered for you to immediately go to the Pope's palace. Got it. Guard the place well. Lu Yuan took back the token and pulled Zhu Zhuqing towards the pontiff's palace. Chapter 317. Reporting to Your Holiness, young Master Yuan is already waiting outside. In the Pope's palace, a heavily armored paladin knelt on one knee and reported the news of Lu Yuan's return.
Oh,
let him in. Upon hearing the news of Lu Yuan's return, Bibidon's noble and dignified face revealed an imperceptible smile as she spoke. Yes, Your Holiness. Under the paladin's notification, Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing stepped into the Pope's palace together. Looking at Bibidon sitting on the Pope's throne, Lu Yuan's heart was a little moved. They hadn't seen each other for more than 2 years, and his teacher was still so peerless. Time seemed to have left no trace on her body. On the contrary, due to the brewing of time, there was a mature and unique fragrance. Like old wine, the more it was stored in the cellar, the more delicious it became. Bibidon still looked like a young girl, but her body was filled with a mature charm. Her pair of pink eyes seemed to be able to speak, moving people and making people feel pity for her. Coupled with her queen-like majesty, weakness and strength, these two characteristics were perfectly combined on Bibidon's body. This temptation to men was simply indescribable. Lu Yuan had to admit that Bibidon was really a rare beauty. Cher's beauty was probably inherited from his teacher's genes. Otherwise, with the Chihiro disease, he was afraid that he wouldn't have been able to give birth to such a pharaoh-like person like Cher. Beside Bibidon were naturally the two great door gods, the chrysanthemum Douluo and the ghost Douluo. No matter where Bibidon went, these two people basically followed Bibidon. They were Bibidon's top 2 lackeys. Teacher. Looking at Bibidon above, Lu Yuan bowed slightly. Greetings, Your Holiness. Zhu Zhuqing, who was beside Lu Yuan, also bowed slightly. Logically speaking, when the ordinary Martial Soul Palace staff saw the Pope, they had to kneel, but Lu Yuan didn't have this hobby. So, he bowed instead. And with Lu Yuan's status, there was no need for him to kneel. As for Zhu Zhuqing, she naturally followed whatever Lu Yuan did. You're willing to come back? Looking at the disciple below who had obviously matured, Bibidon's heart was slightly moved. This young man in front of her was her most beloved disciple. In her heart, Lu Yuan's status was higher than Helena's. In Bibidon's eyes, Lu Yuan was a flawless, perfect existence. He was talented, hardworking, valued relationships, and respected his teacher. If there was one thing that Bibidon had to criticize, it would be that he was a bit of a playboy. Not only did he get his hands on her daughter and disciple, but he also got involved with other girls. However, Bibidon didn't want to care so much. As long as Nana and Cher didn't have any objections, as a teacher and mother, she naturally didn't have any objections. As long as the younger generation was happy, it was fine. Hee. After hearing Bibidon's words, Lu Yuan couldn't help but chuckle. He said, after staying outside for so long, I missed you very much, teacher. So, when I gained some results from my training, I specially rushed back without stopping. Really? After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Bibidon asked with a half-smile. Of course, Lu Yuan said. Hearing this, Bibidon's face bloomed with a beautiful smile. Suddenly, the majestic aura disappeared by more than half and was replaced by gentleness and peace. You missed an old woman like me? I think you missed your senior sister. I missed my senior sister, but I also missed you, teacher. You are not an old woman, you are young. You look no different from those young girls. On the contrary, you have a mature and intellectual temperament. It can be said that you are devastatingly beautiful. You are much more attractive than them. Lu Yuan said seriously. Hee. Bibidon chuckled. Her pair of beautiful eyes couldn't help but glance at Lu Yuan. She said, You brat, you only know how to say nice things to make me happy. Your senior sister and the others were tricked by you like this. You have a glib tongue, you are not serious. Hearing this, Lu Yuan was stunned and didn't know what to say. The main thing was that Bibidon's glance really made him stunned. The girl beside you is Zhu Zhuqing, right? Bibidon asked. Yes. After listening to Bibidon's words, Lu Yuan instantly reacted and said immediately. Bibidon's beautiful eyes looked straight at Zhu Zhuqing. That strength and pressure made Zhu Zhuqing's heart jump, and her delicate body couldn't help but tremble slightly. Noticing Zhu Zhuqing's abnormality, Lu Yuan immediately grabbed Zhu Zhuqing's small hand and held it in the palm of his hand. Feeling the warmth from his hand, Zhu Zhuqing's heart suddenly seemed to have something to rely on, and her whole person slowly calmed down. Seeing Lu Yuan holding Zhu Zhuqing's hand, Bibidon's eyes flashed with a touch of sadness, as if she thought of something. Zhu Zhuqing had her disciple to rely on, but she didn't have anything to rely on. She used her frail body as a girl to shoulder all the wind and rain by herself. The person she loved couldn't give her any protection, and on the contrary, she had to protect him. Bibidon's eyes flashed with a trace of complexity. However, Bibidon was Bibidon after all. The sadness in her eyes disappeared in a flash, and she looked at Zhu Zhuqing and Lu Yuan standing together with a look of approval in her eyes. This Zhu Zhuqing had a soul power of rank 37 at the age of 12, and her martial soul was the superb 9 lives lynx. Furthermore, her looks weren't bad, and her personality was pure and cold. Most importantly, her relationship with her disciple seemed to be pretty good. She could be considered a good match. As for the marriage agreement with the Star Luo royal family, that was nothing. It was just a marriage agreement, and it was fine as long as it was cancelled. She's a pretty good girl, and she's worthy of you. Bibidon retracted her gaze and said plainly, "Thank you very much, teacher." Lu Yuan hurriedly expressed his thanks. After hearing Bibidon's words, he knew that the matter between him and Zhu Zhuqing was settled. Even if Bibidon didn't agree, he still wouldn't give up on Zhu Zhuqing. However, if Bibidon agreed, he would naturally be happier. This was because no matter what, Bibidon was one of the few people he cared about in his heart. Her opinion was still very important. Now that Bibidon had agreed, it was naturally a happy ending for everyone. Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile when he thought of this. Seeing his disciple, who had always been calm, reveal such a surprised smile, Bibidon was also stunned. It seemed that this kid really loved this girl called Zhu Zhuqing. Bibidon said, "Since you're back, go back and see your senior sister. She's been missing you so much these 2 years that she's become ill. To be honest, if you didn't come back, I would have sent people to kidnap you." Chapter 318. Senior Sister. Hearing Bibidon's words, Lu Yuan's heart trembled. Helena's charming and beautiful face appeared in front of Lu Yuan's eyes. Thinking about how Helena had been sitting in the pavilion in the middle of the lake every day for the past 2 years, looking forward to his return, Lu Yuan's longing for her surged like a tide. He just wanted to see this senior sister who loved him to the bone and then hold her tightly in his arms. "Teacher." Lu Yuan had just opened his mouth when he was interrupted by Bibidon. "You want to see your senior sister?" Bibidon asked. "Yes, teacher," Lu Yuan said. "Then you go. You don't have to stay here for long. I'll return to the pavilion in a while," Bibidon said. "Okay, teacher. I'll take my leave first." Lu Yuan quickly bowed and pulled Zhu Zhuqing's hand to walk outside. "Wait." Bibidon's voice sounded. "Is there anything else, teacher?" Lu Yuan's footsteps paused and he turned around slightly. He looked at Bibidon's eyes with some doubt. "You go. Zhu Zhuqing stays," Bibidon said. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing was shocked and subconsciously held Lu Yuan's hand tightly. Lu Yuan subconsciously pulled Zhu Zhuqing behind him. He didn't understand what Bibidon meant. Didn't he already agree to the matter between him and Zhu Zhuqing? Why did he still want Zhu Zhuqing to stay? Seeing Lu Yuan's vigilant look, Bibidon couldn't help but find it funny. Was this disciple of his worried that he would do something to Zhu Zhuqing? "I only asked Zhu Zhuqing to come down and talk to me. I won't make things difficult for her. I'll bring her to the island in the middle of the lake later. She'll live with us. I think you'll be worried about letting her live alone," Bibidon said. "Really? Teacher? Can Zhuqing stay with us?" Lu Yuan's tone carried a hint of surprise. Only he, Helena, and Bibidon lived on Lake Heart Island. Even Chihiro Snow had never been here before. Now that Bibidon was willing to let Zhu Zhuqing live here, how could Lu Yuan not be happy? After all, he was the only person Zhu Zhuqing was familiar with in this huge martial soul palace. Lu Yuan couldn't be at ease if she was alone. Zhu Zhuqing was a sensitive girl. She looked strong and stubborn, but sometimes she was very fragile. After knowing her for so long, Lu Yuan was very clear about this. Therefore, he naturally wanted Zhu Zhuqing to live with him. In fact, if Bibidon didn't say so, he would have brought Zhu Zhuqing to the pavilion in the middle of the lake. He would have acted first and reported later. He didn't expect Bibidon to take the initiative to have this idea. He had to admit that it was indeed wonderful. Has teacher ever lied to you? Bibidon said gently. That's true. Lu Yuan said to himself. Then Zhuqing, you stay here and chat with teacher. I'll leave first, Lu Yuan said as he held Zhu Zhuqing's hand. Lu Yuan. Zhu Zhuqing held Lu Yuan's hand tightly. Although Bibidon appeared to be very calm and had a good attitude, she was still a little nervous if she was alone. Don't worry. Since teacher said it's just a chat, then it can't be fake. Moreover, I'll let Elder Long stay. Don't be afraid, Zhuqing, Lu Yuan said softly. At the end of his words, his lips trembled slightly. His voice formed a line and entered Zhu Zhuqing's ears. All right then, Zhu Zhuqing nodded gently. Since Lu Yuan said so, she could only accept it. Then I'll leave first. Gently patting Zhu Zhuqing's head, Lu Yuan turned around and left the Pope's palace. His figure flashed and quickly rushed toward the pavilion in the middle of the lake. Zhu Zhuqing, right? Come, I have a few questions to ask you. Bibidon's clear and melodious voice sounded softly. Lu Yuan's figure was as swift as lightning, and the vast surface of the lake could not stop him in the slightest. Just like that, he stepped on the waves, and the wide surface of the lake was like flat ground to him. Lu Yuan's double pupils flickered. His gaze swept around. There was no one in the pavilion in the middle of the lake. Helena's figure wasn't there. Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly and began to rush toward the pavilion not far away. In Helena and Lu Yuan's room. Helena leaned against the headboard of the bed. Her knees were slightly bent. Her jade-like arms were tightly hugging her knees. Her jade-like beautiful face was casually placed on top of them. Her short golden hair fell to her shoulders. Helena blinked her somewhat seductive big eyes. Her cherry lips opened slightly as she whispered softly, Junior brother, when will you come back? Senior sister really misses you. I've already practiced the Phoenix Dance 6 illusions that you taught me to great success, but you haven't come back yet. Helena's tone was filled with deep yearning. Lu Yuan, who had just arrived at the door, couldn't help but stop in his tracks. His eyes were filled with gentleness. Have you been so happy with Chihiro Snow and Zhu Zhuqing that you forgot about me? Helena muttered. Her big eyes were filled with hidden bitterness. Some time ago, she seemed to have heard from the elders of the Martial Soul Palace that Lu Yuan and Chihiro Snow were together. After the head consecrator found out, he was very happy. He even ate 2 more bowls of rice. And that Zhu Zhuqing, it seemed like she was always by junior brother's side. She could see him every day. She was the only one who stayed in the empty room every day. Stinky junior brother without a conscience. Helena couldn't help but softly curse. Who are you calling without a conscience? Just as Helena was grumbling to herself, the door suddenly opened, and Lu Yuan, who was dressed in white, slowly appeared. Junior brother? Helena slightly raised her head. Seeing that familiar figure, she couldn't help but mutter to herself. She suspiciously rubbed her eyes. When she looked again, Lu Yuan's tall and straight figure was still in front of her. What's wrong, senior sister? Don't you recognize me? Lu Yuan smiled. That smile was like a ray of sunlight in the dark night, instantly illuminating Helena's entire world. Junior brother. Helena was stunned. Then, a huge surprise surged in her heart. Her body instantly bounced up and suddenly pounced on Lu Yuan. A burst of fragrance swept over. Helena's delicate body directly sank into Lu Yuan's embrace. A pair of jade arms tightly wrapped around Lu Yuan's neck. Her slender white long legs were tightly tied around Lu Yuan's waist. Helena's entire body was like an octopus, tightly wrapped around Lu Yuan's body. Junior brother, I missed you so much. Helena's eyes were red. Her soft voice contained an extremely rich feeling. Senior sister, I missed you too. Lu Yuan's left hand tightly wrapped around Helena's waist. His right hand gently patted Helena's back. After 2 years, seeing Helena again, even he felt a little emotional. Chapter 319. Helena's body was tightly wrapped around Lu Yuan's body, her tender body slightly trembling. Seeing Lu Yuan again, for Helena, was really an incomparable surprise. She had missed Lu Yuan for more than 2 years, worried about him, and the yearning in her heart had long been engraved into her bones. What they met again was not a smile, but tears of joy that flowed down her cheeks. Helena's eyes were filled with tears, sparkling and translucent tears flowed down her cheeks, dripping onto Lu Yuan's shoulder, leaving a little tear stain on his white clothes. But Helena's charming face was full of smiles, as bright and beautiful as the spring sun. She tightly hugged Lu Yuan, as if she was hugging his entire world. Feeling the trembling body of the person in his embrace, Lu Yuan couldn't help but gently stroke Helena's short golden hair. He had always known about Helena's deep feelings for him. This was a woman who loved him to the bone. "Okay, senior sister, don't cry." Lu Yuan's tone was gentle, gently rubbing Helena's head. His cheek and Helena's jade-like face were tightly pressed together, feeling the heat of Helena's tears. "Junior brother." Helena raised her head and met Lu Yuan's eyes. Her pair of big watery eyes were still dripping with tears, but she didn't care at all, and just stared at Lu Yuan, her eyes filled with deep love. "Senior sister." Lu Yuan's eyes carried a trace of pampering, and gently wiped away the tears on Helena's face, the corner of his mouth slightly raised. "Everyone says that women are made of water, sure enough, it's not a lie. Senior sister, look, you're crying like a little kitten." Lu Yuan's tone carried a trace of teasing. "Junior brother," Helena coquettishly shouted, but the tears in her eyes slowly scattered. Lu Yuan faintly smiled. Sure enough, after diverting Helena's attention, she stopped crying. To be honest, Lu Yuan was most afraid of his beloved woman crying, because it would make his heart ache. Gently wiping away the remaining tears on Helena's cheeks, Lu Yuan's movements were gentle, as if he was protecting the most precious treasure in the world. Helena's beautiful eyes were full of affection, and she enjoyed the wiping of her beloved. So beautiful. After wiping away the tears, Helena's charming and wholly jade-like beautiful face completely appeared in Lu Yuan's eyes. Helena originally possessed the demon fox martial soul, and she was originally very beautiful, with a unique charm. After consuming the life spirit crystal, her martial soul transformed into the 9-tailed celestial fox, and not only did her appearance become more beautiful, but her original charm also carried a pure and holy feeling, which caused Helena's charm to skyrocket. Now, although Helena's beauty was slightly inferior to Chihiro Snow's and Jiyu Yuena's, she was still in the top category, only slightly inferior. However, although her appearance was slightly inferior, Helena had a slight advantage over the other two when it came to seduction. Don't forget what Helena's martial soul was. She could inadvertently arouse the deepest desire in a man's heart. Of course, other than the 3 of them, Zhu Zhuqing was also not bad. Zhu Zhuqing's figure was the best, even though she was the youngest. In terms of appearance, Zhu Zhuqing was also the top beauty, especially after her martial soul evolved. Her temperament was even colder, and there was also a trace of mystery in the dark night. She was also an existence that did not lose to Helena's. It could be said that each of Lu Yuan's 4 girlfriends had their own characteristics. His taste was not for show, and he found the most beautiful ones. Really? Hearing Lu Yuan say that she was beautiful, Helena's face revealed a trace of a smile. Really? Lu Yuan nodded. Since I'm so beautiful, why don't you kiss me? Helena's beautiful eyes flickered, and there was a trace of anticipation in her voice. Hearing this, Lu Yuan only felt his blood rushing to his head. He lowered his head slightly and kissed Helena's cherry lips. His right foot hooked, and the door instantly closed. Why don't you want me? You're not young anymore, we can already do it. Lying slightly on Lu Yuan's chest, Helena's eyes carried a trace of hidden bitterness. Senior sister. Lu Yuan leaned slightly, hugged Helena in his arms, and gently kissed her red lips, and said, "It's still daytime, and teacher might be here in a while." "It's not the time yet." Ah. Hearing this, Helena let out a cry, and was a little flustered. Teacher will be here in a while. Lu Yuan nodded lightly. What a pity. Helena's charming face carried a trace of regret. Forget about it now, but don't think about running away tonight. Helena bit Lu Yuan's lips hard and said fiercely. Ha! Being provoked by Helena, Lu Yuan couldn't help but laugh. Senior sister, I'm afraid the one who wants to run away tonight is you. Don't blame me for not reminding you, I'm very powerful. Then I'd like to see how powerful you are. Helena snorted. She didn't believe it. In this aspect, women have more advantages than men. Just don't beg for mercy when the time comes. Lu Yuan smiled slightly. Humph. Helena snorted, and asked, Are you already with Chihiro Snow? Lu Yuan nodded, and didn't hide it. Sure enough, she was one step ahead. Helena pouted her small mouth, and asked, What about Zhu Zhuqing? She's still young. Lu Yuan said. That's more like it. Hearing that she wasn't the last one, Helena's heart felt a lot better. Seeing this, Lu Yuan helplessly shook his head. Alas, really, these things are fussy. Suddenly, Helena blinked her eyes and kissed Lu Yuan. Junior brother, I've practiced the Phoenix Dance 6 illusions that you taught me to the Dacheng. Helena chuckled, looking at Lu Yuan expectantly, like a child who wanted to be praised. That's very good, you didn't let me down. I originally decided that if I came back and found that you hadn't made any progress, I would personally train you again. To be honest, I still miss the way you practiced the Phoenix Dance 6 illusions with a stone on your back. That clumsy look is really interesting. With that, Lu Yuan's eyes couldn't help but reveal a trace of smile. To be honest, that kind of Helena was really interesting and funny enough. You still dare to say, bad junior brother, I'll bite you to death. Helena was enraged by Lu Yuan's poking at her unbearable past. It was rare for the little fox to erupt in anger. Helena directly threw Lu Yuan under her body, opened her mouth and bit toward Lu Yuan's shoulder. Woo! A big hand directly covered Helena's mouth. Lu Yuan's body gently turned over, and caught Helena, and directly slapped Helena's perky buttocks. What, you still want to rebel? Lu Yuan's mouth slightly raised, revealing a trace of a smile. Chapter 320. Do you still dare to rebel? Lu Yuan asked with a smile as he gently slapped Helena's perky buttocks again. I don't dare. Helena drooped her small head, looking as if she had nothing to live for. She didn't know why, every time she faced her junior brother, she wanted to explode once, but the result was always ruthless suppression. Obviously, Chihiro Snow and Zhu Zhuqing could throw a little tantrum, but she was completely dominated by this bad junior brother. Was this the difference between being pursued and being pursued? Chihiro Snow was pursued by her junior brother. Zhu Zhuqing was reluctant to do so. Only she was the junior brother who was pursued. Was this the reason why her status was the lowest? Damn junior brother, I love you so much, but you actually treat me like this. Helena thought indignantly in her heart. What are you thinking, my dear senior sister? Lu Yuan took Helena's jade-like hand, pulled her slightly into his arms, and gently tapped Helena's jade nose. Lu Yuan said with a smile. Smelly junior brother, you have no conscience, you only know how to bully me. Helena muttered slightly. Well, don't be angry, I only like to bully you. Who told you to be my dearest senior sister? If it were someone else, I wouldn't be interested in bullying them. Lu Yuan said with a smile. Who knows if what you said is true or not? Helena muttered slightly. What did you say? Lu Yuan slightly raised his eyebrows. Nothing, I just said that I love you the most. Helena's beautiful eyes were slightly flustered, and she quickly said. Oh, you. Lu Yuan sighed softly, flicked Helena's smooth forehead, and deliberately pretended not to hear. Helena had always been obedient and submissive in front of him, but this was actually not good. Lu Yuan preferred to let her unleash her true nature and not deliberately suppress it for him. That was not what Lu Yuan wanted to see. Now, it was actually quite good for Helena to have a little personality occasionally. It made her more real, more like a living Helena. After tucking Helena's messy blonde hair behind her ear, Lu Yuan kissed her cherry lips and said, "Get up quickly. The teacher should be here soon. Don't be rude in front of the teacher. There's also Zhu Qing. She will be staying with us from now on." Zhu Qing? Does she live here too? Helena asked. Lu Yuan nodded gently and said, "This is what the teacher personally promised." "I see." Helena lowered her head slightly. After a moment of silence, she suddenly raised her head and asked, "Zhu Qing lives here. Where do you sleep at night? Do you still sleep with me?" Helena's tone had a hint of expectation. This. Lu Yuan gently rubbed his chin. After pondering for a while, he said, "I'll take turns sleeping on both sides." "Ah." Helena's face had a hint of disappointment. "But junior brother, I want to hug you to sleep every day." Helena blinked her eyes pitifully. Her appearance was truly pitiful and moving. "I see." Lu Yuan lightly tapped his chin and said word by word, "Then there's only one way." "What way?" Helena's eyes had a hint of curiosity. "We'll sleep together. This way, you can hug me to sleep every day." Lu Yuan revealed a meaningful smile. Scram. After listening to Lu Yuan's words, Helena suddenly became angry. She directly landed a fist on Lu Yuan's chest. This stinky junior brother really dared to dream. He actually wants to sleep together. Dream on. After being punched by Helena, Lu Yuan was not angry. He still had a smile on his face. "Junior brother, come, eat a drumstick." Under Bibidan's somewhat strange gaze, Helena once again put a big drumstick into Lu Yuan's bowl. Ah! Looking at the small mountain of food in front of him, Lu Yuan was slightly stunned. Helena was a bit too enthusiastic. He was somewhat unable to resist, especially when Bibidan was beside him. "Nana, that's enough. It's not too late to wait until your junior brother finishes eating." Bibidan really could not stand it anymore and immediately said, "Oh, okay." Helena's chopsticks that were reaching out to roast the teppanyaki rhinoceros meat paused and then slowly retracted them. "Junior brother, hurry up and eat. I'll get more for you after you finish eating." Helena's beautiful eyes stared straight at Lu Yuan, while Bibidan and Zhu Qing at the side were completely ignored. Hearing this, Lu Yuan shook his head slightly. This senior sister's love was really too strong. Sometimes, he could not resist it. "Teacher, this fish is good. You should eat some too." Lu Yuan picked up a piece of fish and put it into Bibidan's bowl. He also picked up 2 pieces of fish for Helena and Zhu Qing. There was no other way. He could not let these 3 people watch him eat alone. That would be too embarrassing. Bibidan nodded gently. His beautiful eyes glanced at Helena at the side and said, "Your junior brother knows how to be filial to me. You only have your junior brother in your eyes. How can you still have me as your teacher?" "Teacher." Hearing Bibidan's words, Helena's face blushed slightly. She immediately picked up the fragrant rabbit meat with her chopsticks and put it into Bibidan's bowl. "This is your favorite rabbit meat. You should eat more." Helena's face had a somewhat flattering expression and revealed a sweet smile. "Your heart is not sincere. Do you need me to remind you?" Bibidan's red lips slightly opened and said softly. Suddenly, Helena's face revealed a trace of embarrassment. She stuck out her tongue embarrassedly and slightly lowered her head. Seeing the scene of Lu Yuan and the other 2 interacting, Zhu Qing's eyes flashed with a trace of envy. The relationship between Lu Yuan and the other 2 was really good. There was a kind of family warmth. She had never experienced this kind of feeling. Suddenly, Zhu Qing only felt a warmth in her hand. It turned out that Lu Yuan had quietly held her jade hand. Lu Yuan's smile was very warm. In an instant, it warmed Zhu Qing's heart. Yes, even if she had never enjoyed the warmth of a family, now that she had this man by her side, she would not lack love. Zhu Qing smiled sweetly at Lu Yuan. Her smile was so pure and beautiful, without a trace of impurity. Seeing Zhu Qing like this, Lu Yuan slightly let go of his hand. As for why he did not continue to hold Zhu Qing's hand, how could she eat while holding it? Zhu Qing picked up the chopsticks and gently tasted the fish that Lu Yuan gave her. The taste was extraordinarily delicious. "Teacher, There is something I want to ask you for help with. Glancing at Zhu Zhuqing, Lu Yuan said. What is it? Say it. Bibidon said. It's like this. Zhuqing is an agility-type soul master, and her martial soul is the 9 lives lynx. Her potential is boundless, but she can't properly utilize and excavate her potential. I'm not an agility-type soul master, so I can't help her. Therefore, I want to ask Elder Ghost to help guide Zhuqing. Lu Yuan said. Chapter 321. Is that so? Alright, I agree. Bring this girl to find Guimai tomorrow. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Bibidon nodded slightly. Thank you, teacher. Seeing that Bibidon had agreed, a smile appeared on Lu Yuan's face. At the same time, he nudged Zhu Zhuqing, who was beside him. One had to know that the ghost Douluo was considered one of the top agility-type soul masters. Agility-type titled Douluo were rare on the continent, and assault-type titled Douluo were more common. With him teaching Zhu Zhuqing's strength would definitely increase by quite a bit. After being nudged by Lu Yuan, Zhu Zhuqing immediately reacted and hurriedly thanked Bibidon. Thank you, Your Holiness. There's no need. Since you're Abuchi's girlfriend and have already decided to marry him, you're a member of our martial soul palace. This is just a small matter. Bibidon gently waved his hand, and his expression gradually became serious. However, since you're already with Abuchi, you must never do anything to let him down in the future. Otherwise, there won't be a place for you in the world. Your Holiness, please don't worry. Lu Yuan is my man. I'll always be with him in this life. We'll sleep together in life and die together in death. No matter what he does, I'll support him unwaveringly until I die. Zhu Zhuqing suddenly stood up. There was an unprecedentedly serious look on her face, and her eyes were filled with determination. Very good. Remember what you said. Bibidon nodded slightly, and there was a trace of satisfaction in his eyes. Only a woman who was willing to give her all for Lu Yuan was worthy of his unparalleled disciple, Bibidon. Zhuqing, come, sit down. After hearing Zhu Zhuqing's words, Lu Yuan was very touched. He held Zhu Zhuqing's jade-like hand and helped her sit down slowly. Even Helena looked at Zhu Zhuqing in astonishment. This girl's love for her junior brother was probably not much less than hers. She could feel the deep affection in Zhu Zhuqing's tone. The way she looked at her junior brother was exactly the same as her own. Thinking of this, Helena looked at Zhu Zhuqing with a gentle gaze. Junior brother found the right girlfriend. Go to the consecration hall after the meal. The great consecrator is looking for you, Bibidon said indifferently. Lu Yuan's chopsticks paused. Why was Sendryu looking for him? Could it be because of Cher? After thinking about it, Lu Yuan confirmed his guess. After all, he had eaten Qian Renxue. Such a big matter, Shuera must have told her closest grandfather, which was the old man Qian Daoliu. Was that why the old man wanted to meet him? That was indeed very likely. For Sendryu, Lu Yuan had no feelings. After all, this person was not very likable. Although he was on the same side, it was difficult for Lu Yuan to have any good impression of him. Compared with him, Lu Yuan admired Tang Chen more. This was a real man who dared to take responsibility for his actions and had an indomitable spirit. Although Tang Chen was his enemy, this did not stop Lu Yuan from appreciating him. Compared with Tang Chen, Sendryu was not only a little weak in character, but also far inferior in talent. However, even if Lu Yuan did not like him very much, for the sake of Chihiro Snow's face, Lu Yuan still had to maintain the most basic respect for him. After all, he was the person that Chihiro Snow cared about the most besides himself. Understood, teacher. Hearing Bibidon's words, Lu Yuan nodded slightly. He also wanted to see what Sendryu, the old man, wanted to say. Soon, the four of them finished their meal. Bibidon held a cup of tea and gently took a sip. Nana, take Zhu Zhuqing to find a room to stay in and prepare the daily necessities. Abuchi, you go to the hall of worship now, Bibidon said. Yes, teacher. The two of them said at the same time. Senior sister, then I'll leave Zhuqing to you. Lu Yuan said with a smile as he gently scratched Helena's nose. Okay, got it. You go first. I'll definitely take good care of her. Helena smiled. Okay. Lu Yuan nodded and gently stroked Zhu Zhuqing's cheek. Zhuqing, you stay here and follow your senior sister. If you lack anything, just tell your senior sister. She's a very nice person. You don't have to treat her like an outsider. Okay. Zhu Zhuqing nodded lightly. Then I'll go first. Lu Yuan smiled. With a light tap of his foot, his figure quickly disappeared. Hall of Worship. Sendryu faced the huge angel statue with his hands behind his back. You're here. Hearing the footsteps behind him, Sendryu said softly. Greetings, great consecrator. Lu Yuan's clear voice sounded. Didn't I tell you not to call me great consecrator, just call me grandpa? Sendryu turned around with a smile on his face. Looking at the smile on Sendryu's face, Lu Yuan was a little stunned. Shouldn't this old guy be angry because I ate Chihiro Snow? Why does he look so happy? You and Cher are together, right? Sendryu asked. Yes. Lu Yuan nodded lightly. That's good. Sendryu smiled, glanced at Lu Yuan, and said, in that case, why don't you call me grandpa? Great consecrator, you're not angry? Lu Yuan asked tentatively. Angry? Why should I be angry? This old man is in a particularly good mood right now. Sendryu laughed and said, this is something this old man has been looking forward to for a long time. You finally did it. It seems that I can hold a grandson soon. Our Qian family finally has a descendant. Great consecrator, Cher, and I have only done it once. It can't be so fast, right? Lu Yuan finally understood why this old man was so happy. It turned out to be because of this. Apart from the martial soul palace, this old man was more interested in the inheritance of the angel bloodline. Chihiro Snow was the only person who had an angel martial soul. Now that he had a relationship with Lu Yuan, wouldn't he soon have a successor? However, thinking of this, the corners of Lu Yuan's mouth curled up slightly. Even if he and Chihiro Snow had a descendant, his martial soul might not be a six-winged angel. One had to know that his golden dragon martial soul was the second generation, and it was on the verge of transformation. It was probably stronger than the current Chihiro Snow. Generally speaking, the descendants of a soul master would inherit the martial soul of the stronger of the two parents. Only when the two martial souls were of the same quality could there be a possibility of twin martial souls. Lu Yuan's golden dragon martial soul was about the same as Chihiro Snow's before he had obtained the clear air divine seed. But now, Lu Yuan's golden dragon was obviously stronger. Thinking of this, Lu Yuan looked at Sendryu with a trace of pity in his eyes. Perhaps the inheritance of the six-winged angel martial soul had been broken with him. If he knew this, would this old man still be happy? Lu Yuan's face had a trace of strangeness. Chapter 322. Just once. That's a problem. Sendryu muttered softly. The probability this time was still too low. It would be more reliable if he did it a few more times. Then don't stay in the martial soul palace for too long. Go to Heaven Do as soon as possible. Don't you know that Cher needs your company? You don't have any sense of responsibility at all. Sendryu's smiling face returned to normal as he looked at Lu Yuan. Of course, the most important thing is to give birth to a fat boy as soon as possible. It's best if you give birth to a few more so that our Qian family can flourish. Sendryu added. Hearing Sendryu's words, Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. He was only 12 years old. It was a little too early to have a child. Moreover, he wanted to give birth to a few more. What did he take him for? What did he take Cher for? Lu Yuan had the urge to punch Sendryu's face. Moreover, Cher was currently hiding in the Heaven Do Empire and needed to hide her identity. If she really got pregnant, it would be troublesome. However, when he thought about his bloodline that was constantly evolving, the probability of getting pregnant was very small. The stronger the bloodline, the harder it was to pass it down. It was actually very difficult for a pure dragon bloodline to reproduce. This was especially the case when his bloodline was still transforming, not completely stabilizing yet, so the chances of getting pregnant were close to zero. Only when his bloodline broke through its shackles, reaching the level of exceptional talents, would there be this type of opportunity. Of course, Lu Yuan would not say this out loud. He would let this old man worry about it himself. Seeing that Lu Yuan did not speak, as if he had tacitly agreed, Sendryu nodded in satisfaction. He looked at the handsome Lu Yuan and felt quite happy. At the very least, this grandson-in-law's appearance was worthy of his family's share. Moreover, his talent was peerless. He had also obtained the favor of the gods and was indeed a good match for Cher. He only hoped that this kid would treat Cher well. Brat, since you're with Cher, then you need to treat her well. You can't bully her or make her sad. Otherwise, I won't care if you're the successor of the God King or not. If you dare to bully Cher, I won't let you off. Sendryu's tone carried a hint of threat. Of course. Cher is the love of my heart. How could I let her be sad? Lu Yuan said. Chihiro Snow was the person he loved the most. Even if he let down everyone in the world, he would not let her come to any harm. That's more like it. Sendryu approved of Lu Yuan's attitude, and his expression gradually softened. After being away for more than 2 years, your strength should have improved a lot. I heard from Cher that she lost to you. Furthermore, your second martial soul is very powerful. It seems like you haven't wasted these 2 years. It's just a small improvement. You're too kind, great consecrator. Lu Yuan was a little humble. I've already said to call me grandfather. Why are you still calling me great consecrator? Sendryu's tone carried a hint of dissatisfaction. Yes, grandfather. After hearing Sendryu's words, Lu Yuan's expression did not change. It's just calling me grandfather. It's not like I haven't called him that before. On account of Cher, I'll give this old man some face. That's more like it. Sendryu wore a smile on his face once again. Sendryu asked Lu Yuan a few more questions about cultivation. At this moment, he seemed to be very concerned. He really did act like a grandfather. Suddenly, Sendryu seemed to unintentionally mention something. I heard from Cher that a Dragon Emperor Douluo has acknowledged you as his master. I wonder if this Dragon Emperor Douluo has come with you. Elder Long, come out. After Sendryu mentioned this, Lu Yuan no longer asked Long Xiaoyao to conceal himself. He directly let him out. Long Xiaoyao's figure suddenly appeared in the hall. Hey! Seeing that Long Xiaoyao had appeared without any warning, Sendryu's eyes gradually narrowed. Long Xiaoyao had been following Lu Yuan all this time, but he didn't sense him at all. How strong was he? Could he be even stronger than Sendryu? Sendryu was secretly astonished. In fact, Sendryu had misunderstood. Long Xiaoyao was indeed a little stronger than him, but not by a lot. The reason why Sendryu didn't discover him was because Long Xiaoyao's martial soul was the Darkness Holy Dragon. He controlled extreme darkness, and was naturally adept at concealing himself and restraining his aura. In addition, Sendryu didn't check carefully. Long Xiaoyao's cultivation was also slightly higher. This was why Sendryu didn't discover him. Otherwise, with Sendryu's abilities, he would have been able to discover him. Grandfather, let me introduce you. This is Elder Long, the Dragon Emperor Douluo Long Xiaoyao. His martial soul is the Darkness Holy Dragon. He's a rank 99 ultimate Douluo. Elder Long, this is Cher's grandfather. He's also my grandfather. He's the great consecrator of the consecrated hall, the angel Douluo Sendryu. He's a rank 99 ultimate Douluo with a 6-winged seraph martial soul. Lu Yuan introduced Long Xiaoyao and Hua Yuhao. Ultimate Douluo and Ultimate Douluo were the same. They were both nicknames for rank 99 titled Douluo. Long Xiaoyao, Sendryu. The two of them stared at each other quietly. As one of the top fighting powers in the Douluo continent, there was an atmosphere that was different from ordinary people when they saw each other. Sendryu's martial soul was the 6-winged seraph, and he controlled the power of holy and light. Long Xiaoyao's martial soul was darkness, and he controlled the ultimate power of darkness. When the two of them saw each other, they felt like they were going to compete. After Tang Chen and Pasisi, you're the first ultimate Douluo I've met. Sendryu looked at Long Xiaoyaro and said plainly. If Long Xiaoyaro wasn't included, Sendryu, Tang Chen, and Pasisi were the only 3 ultimate Douluo in the world. Bibidon was also rank 99, but she had received the Rakshasa inheritance, and couldn't use her full abilities. If they really fought, she might be slightly inferior to Sendryu. However, Sendryu couldn't do anything to her. Right now, Long Xiaoyaro was giving Sendryu immense pressure. His aura was so strong that it seemed to overshadow Tang Chen's aura. Sendryu, who hadn't fought anyone for many years, suddenly felt a little excited. This Dragon Emperor Douluo might be a very good opponent. You're also the first ultimate Douluo I've met. Long Xiaoyaro was also staring straight at Sendryu. There was a tinge of fighting spirit in his calm eyes. Although Sendryu's aura was inferior to his, he was undoubtedly still a rank 99 Douluo. Furthermore, Sendryu's body had an extremely strong holy power. Even though that power didn't seem to belong to him, it was still extremely powerful. This made Long Xiaoyaro feel a little eager to try it out. Chapter 323. Ever since he had been summoned to the Douluo world by Lu Yuan, Long Xiaoyaro had rarely fought. The first time he fought Du Gubo and the 3 education committee members of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, Meng Shinji and the others. To Long Xiaoyaro, that was a piece of cake. Du Gubo was sent flying with a wave of his hand, and Meng Shinji and the others couldn't even withstand his aura. The second time he fought Di Tian, and it was a very satisfying fight. Di Tian's abilities were on par with Long Xiaoyao's if he didn't use his Dragon God's Claw. In addition, both of them controlled ultimate darkness, so Long Xiaoyaro had a great time fighting them. Of course, Long Xiaoyaro also taught the Sky Azure Bull Python and the Titan Giant Ape a lesson, and beat them half to death. There was also the Bear Lord, who was half a step into the limit realm. He even managed to hurt Long Xiaoyaro with a sneak attack, but he was still beaten to the ground. The third time he fought was in Shrek Academy, and he fought the famous vast Sky Douluo Tang Hao. However, even though Tang Hao was very famous and powerful, that was only to normal titled Douluo. To someone like Long Xiaoyaro, he wasn't even worth mentioning. Even though Tang Hao was forced into a corner, he was still beaten half to death by Long Xiaoyaro. He lay on the bed like a dead dog, and it was difficult for him to recover from his injuries. In the end, he died at the hands of the Sky Azure Bull Python and the Titan Giant Ape. Apart from that, Long Xiaoyaro didn't really fight. Today, Long Xiaoyaro finally met another limit realm existence after Di Tian, and it was also a powerful human. Furthermore, it controlled the power of light. This was very interesting. Light and darkness countered each other, and he loved to fight opponents who controlled the power of light. In the past, there was a good opponent who controlled the power of light, but it was a pity that he couldn't find one now. However, Sendryu wasn't as good as that person, but he could still fight him. Sendryu said, "Are you interested in playing with me? I haven't fought for many years. Now that I've seen you today, I can't help but feel a little itchy. That's my wish. I dare not ask for it." Long Xiaoyao's eyes flickered with a bright light. "Then let's go up and fight." Sendryu's figure flashed and he was already outside the consecration hall. His voice slowly drifted over from afar. "Master." Long Xiaoyaro glanced at Lu Yuan, and seemed like he wanted to say something. Lu Yuan immediately understood what Long Xiaoyaro meant. He was asking if he should show mercy on account of Chihiro Snow. Lu Yuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Long Xiaoyaro was indeed Long Xiaoyaro. His arrogance was indeed worthy of being the possessor of the Darkness Holy Dragon martial soul. He was certain that Sendryu would lose before the fight even started. However, that was what Lu Yuan thought in his heart. "Go, Elder Long. You don't have to be merciful. Just use your full strength. If you can, teach this old man a lesson. I've had a problem with him for a long time, but I can't beat him. Moreover, I don't have a good reason. Today is a good opportunity." Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Yes, Master, I'll go then." Long Xiaoyaro said. "Okay." Lu Yuan acknowledged and said, "Elder Long, be careful of the angel's divine power on his body. He's a god's envoy, and he can borrow the angel's divine power. When that happens, his abilities will increase significantly. Be careful, and don't get hurt." Long Xiaoyaro nodded. His figure flashed, and he appeared outside the consecration hall. As he watched the two of them disappear, Lu Yuan slowly walked out of the consecration hall. Lu Yuan was very interested in this ultimate battle. After all, this was a battle between the most powerful soul masters below the godly rank. It was rare to see such a battle. As he slowly stepped out of the consecration hall, bright golden light and deep darkness spread in the sky. They stirred up the entire sky above the martial soul palace. An ultimate Douluo was already the highest level a human could reach below the godly rank. Every move of such a powerful soul master could affect the weather in heaven and earth. As he looked at Sendryu, who was flashing with bright golden light and had 6 snow-white wings on his back, Lu Yuan twisted his mouth disdainfully. He was indeed a coward. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to defeat Elder Long, so he chose to fight in the sky. This was the most suitable battlefield for him. After all, Tang Chen and Pasisi were known to be invincible in the sky, while Tang Chen was known to be invincible on earth, and Tang Chen was known to be invincible on sea. The 6-winged angel was very suitable for aerial battles. After all, it had 3 pairs of wings, and was best at flying. However, Lu Yuan revealed a weird look on his face. Tang Chen and Pasisi weren't good at aerial battles because one of them had the clear sky hammer, while the other had the sea god. Therefore, they were at a disadvantage against Sendryu in the sky. However, Long Xiaoyaro was different. His martial soul was the Darkness Holy Dragon. The Darkness Holy Dragon was a pure dragon, and it had dragon wings. Choosing to fight in the sky didn't affect Long Xiaoyao's fighting strength at all. Sendryu had miscalculated. Dim golden light was accompanied by mysterious and ancient chanting sounds. Sendryu's 9 soul rings started to appear below him. 8 black and 1 red. This was the advantage of being a god's envoy. He could increase the age of his soul rings through tests. 8 black and 1 red. This was definitely a soul ring combination that would shock ordinary soul masters. Even Master Long Xiaoyaro had expected that Tang San's second martial soul would only have 10,000-year soul rings. If Tang San wasn't the main character of the original novel, and didn't have many opportunities, his soul ring combination would only be at Sendryu's standard. Long Xiaoyao's eyes focused when he saw Sendryu's soul ring combination. However, it was only for a moment. 8 black and 1 red soul ring combination was rare, but his soul ring combination wasn't bad either. A loud and clear dragon roar resonated through the sky and spread throughout the inner hall of the martial soul palace. A dark light appeared, and the Darkness Holy Dragon was instantly attached to Long Xiaoyao's body. Huge black dragon wings were extended, and black dragon scales covered his body. 9 yellow, purple, black, red, and red soul rings shone on Long Xiaoyao's body. Although they weren't all black and red soul rings, 2 blood-red 100,000-year soul rings were enough to close the gap, or even surpass it. After all, even a few 10,000-year soul rings added together might not be able to compare to a 100,000-year soul ring. He wasn't ranked first on the Soul Master's Dream ranking for nothing. 200,000-year soul rings. Qian Daoliu's eyes had a hint of seriousness. This was the first time he had seen a soul master with such a combination of soul rings. Shouldn't such a combination only be possible for twin martial souls? It seems like this Dragon Emperor Douluo isn't simple. Sendryu was alarmed. It's about to start. Lu Yuan's polychoria flashed as he watched the two of them. Although the two of them were high up in the sky, this distance wasn't a problem for Lu Yuan's polychoria. Swish. Golden light and darkness filled the sky at the same time. Suddenly, the entire sky was filled with bright light. However, half of the sky seemed to be covered by a layer of darkness, and became very dim. Chapter 324. Oh! Golden light and darkness filled the sky. Bibidon, who was admiring the scenery in the pavilion at the center of the lake, suddenly narrowed her eyes and revealed a sharp look. Her eyes were filled with intense hatred. She couldn't be more familiar with that holy strength. It belonged to the six-winged angel, and it was also the thing that she hated the most. She looked at the bright golden light in the distance that dyed the sky. Sendryu should have made a move, but she didn't know who could make him do it. Bibidon was filled with curiosity as she looked at the darkness that wasn't inferior to the bright light. She had never seen such pure darkness in her life. It was really pure darkness, and there wasn't a single trace of evil in it. Bibidon couldn't help but click her tongue in wonder. These energy undulations came from the consecration hall, and Abuchi had just gone to the consecration hall not long ago. This meant that the owner of this darkness power should be Abuchi's subordinate, the Dragon Emperor Douluo, Long Xiaoyao. But she didn't know why they had made a move. Bibidon was a little curious. She stood up slightly. She wanted to see who would emerge victorious in this battle. She hoped that it would be the Dragon Emperor. She wanted to see that dirty six-winged angel being beaten up. There was also Sendryu, that detestable old man. After all, that old man had opposed her many times over the years. Bibidon's lips curled into a smile. She picked up her scepter and prepared to walk towards the pavilion at the center of the lake. "Teacher," Helena's voice rang out just as Bibidon took a step forward. She had just finished arranging Zhu Zhuqing's room, and she saw Bibidon's actions as soon as she came out. "Nana, the two of you came at the right time. Come with me to watch an interesting battle," Bibidon said. "An interesting battle?" Helena's heart trembled as she looked at the light and darkness in the distance. What kind of strength was this? It could even cover the sky. The Dragon Emperor Douluo? Zhu Zhuqing couldn't help but speak softly as she looked at the familiar pure darkness. She had seen this strength in the great Star Do forest that day. It was unleashed when Long Xiaoyao was fighting Di Tian. Zhu Zhuqing was still a little fearful when she recalled that oppressive might that seemed capable of suppressing heaven and earth. An ultimate Douluo was simply too powerful. "Oh, you know?" Bibidon glanced at Zhu Zhuqing in astonishment. He immediately reacted and said, "Yes, you've been by Abuchi's side for so long. It's not surprising that you know. Dragon Emperor Douluo, is this the Dragon Emperor Douluo mentioned in the letter? He's an ultimate Douluo. Who could possibly fight him to such an extent?" Helena couldn't help but exclaim as she looked at the darkness Douluo and light Douluo. "Who else could it be?" "Of course, it's the head consecrator," Bibidon said calmly. "Oh, I see." Helena was enlightened. It wouldn't be strange if it was the head consecrator. After all, the head consecrator was rank 99. However, Helena was a little puzzled. Why would the head consecrator fight with the Dragon Emperor Douluo? Did something happen to Hua Yuhao? Is the head consecrator purposely making things difficult for him? Helena was a little worried. Is it because Hua Yuhao ate Chihiro Snow? However, that shouldn't be the case. The head consecrator was very happy about this. After hearing the news, he even ate 2 more bowls of rice. Helena was a little puzzled now. "Let's go." After greeting Helena and Zhu Zhuqing, Bibidon strode towards the consecrator hall. Boom! The bright holy sword carried the power of holiness and light as it clashed with the huge dragon claw. Intense energy ripples were instantly unleashed. Fortunately, the two of them were fighting in the sky. Otherwise, the entire consecrator hall would have been destroyed by the energy ripples if they were on the ground. Lu Yuan's eyes flickered. This was his first time witnessing a battle between 2 ultimate existences. He had missed it back in the Great Star Do forest. It had to be said that a battle between ultimate existences was very beneficial to him. Both parties' fighting experience and techniques couldn't be compared to ordinary titled Douluo. Ta, ta, ta. Sendryu and Long Xiaoyao's fight caused a huge commotion. The consecrators in the consecrator hall naturally sensed it immediately. The golden crocodile led the way, and there were 5 other people following behind him. They were all above rank 95. However, they were all astonished as they watched the fight in the sky. If they dared to interfere in a fight of this level, they would only end up dead. The ultimate limit was a threshold. There was a huge difference between those behind the threshold and those before it. Even the golden crocodile wouldn't be able to last more than 10 moves against any of them before he was defeated and killed. Ibuchi, what's going on? Why is the head consecrator fighting with someone? Who is that person? How can he fight with the head consecrator to such an extent? There was a look of astonishment in the golden alligator Douluo's eyes. He had seen everything that was happening in the sky. Not only did the 1000 Dao flow not gain any advantage over the ultimate Douluo, but they were also at a disadvantage. Grandpa Golden Crocodile. Lu Yuan's eyes brightened when he saw the golden crocodile. The golden crocodile treated him very well. He was also one of the people he cared about in the martial soul palace. Greetings, consecrators. Lu Yuan greeted the 5 consecrators behind him. Greetings, Prince Yuan. The consecrators were very easy to talk to, and their attitude was also very good. After all, now that Qian Renshue and Lu Yuan were together, and Lu Yuan had the angel token in his hand, it was obvious that he had obtained the full support of the High Consecrator. In addition, he was the Pope's disciple and was doted on by the Pope. He had close ties with both the Consecrator Hall and the Pope's palace. At the same time, he had the support of both sides. The future Martial Soul Palace was basically his world. Therefore, even though they were consecrators with high statuses, they didn't dare to put on airs in front of Lu Yuan. Ibuchi, you haven't told us who that person is. The golden crocodile asked. That's Elder Long, a rank 99 ultimate Douluo. His martial soul is the Darkness Holy Dragon. His sparring with the head consecrator, Lu Yuan said. I see. The golden crocodile was enlightened. So that's the Dragon Emperor Douluo. I was wondering where this ultimate Douluo came from. He was slightly relieved. He had thought that there was an enemy attack, but it turned out that it was just the head consecrator sparring with the Dragon Emperor Douluo. That was fine. The Dragon Emperor Douluo was Ibuchi's subordinate. With Ibuchi's relationship with the young mistress and the Pope, the Dragon Emperor Douluo could be considered part of the Martial Soul Palace. In this way, the Martial Soul Palace's strength would be incredible. The golden crocodile was secretly delighted. After all, he was wholeheartedly focused on the Martial Soul Palace. The stronger the Martial Soul Palace was, the happier he would be. Lu Yuan naturally didn't know what the golden crocodile was thinking. He shifted his gaze and saw Bibidon walking over with her golden scepter in her hand. Besides Hulena and Zhu Zhuqing behind her, there were also the Chrysanthemum Douluo, Ghost Douluo, and a few titled Douluo. Now, all the titled Douluo had gathered. Chapter 325. There were actually many titled Douluo in the Martial Soul Hall. There were probably no less than 20 of them. Among them, there were only the 7 consecrated from the consecrated hall, Bibi Dong, and a few titled Douluo from the Pontiff's palace. In particular, the Chrysanthemum Douluo and Ghost Douluo weren't all that powerful on their own, but they possessed a soul fusion skill, the Dual Extreme Forbidden Domain. This soul fusion skill was quite powerful, and even the Sky Azure Bull Python and Titan Giant Ape had been immobilized by it. It was quite impressive. As for the few titled Douluo behind Bibidon, they were all above rank 93, and they weren't weak even among titled Douluo. At the very least, they should be more powerful than Dugu Bo in one-on-one combat. After all, Dugu Bo was only rank 91. In a battle between titled Soul Masters, Dugu Bo couldn't beat anyone, but in terms of large-scale destructive power, even 10 titled Douluo couldn't compare to him, let alone one titled Soul Master. His poison was indeed very powerful, and it was a nightmare for low-level Soul Masters. This was why Lu Yuan had always wanted to subdue him, and he was quite confident in his ability to do so. Of course, if Dugu Bo was too stubborn and refused to submit, then Lu Yuan would have no choice but to send him to the afterlife. After all, in the original story, this guy had used poison to massacre the entire city, and he had almost turned the entire city into a poisonous realm. Putting aside whether or not he was the one who wanted to poison the entire city, Lu Yuan felt that it was better to keep such a dangerous person under his control. If he couldn't control him, then he could only erase him. But then again, if he wanted to establish his own organization, Dugu Bo would be a good candidate to subdue. Furthermore, the Icefire Yin-Yang Well was a good place. Not only were the immortal herbs inside useful to Lu Yuan, but they were also very useful to his women. Furthermore, the herbs inside were also very good cultivation resources for establishing his own organization. After all, there weren't just immortal herbs there were also many precious ordinary herbs. Lu Yuan didn't feel guilty about occupying the Icefire Yin-Yang Well. Strictly speaking, that was not Douluo Bo's place. It was derived from the corpses of the Ice Dragon King and the Fire Dragon King. Strictly speaking, it belonged to the dragon race. Furthermore, with his current relationship with the Dragon Clan, he had no qualms about occupying that place. After all, he was the one who carried the fate of the soul beasts on his shoulders, and the Silver Dragon King Jiu Yuana was his girlfriend. Wasn't that a lot more legitimate than Tang-san? Teacher. Seeing Bibidon approaching, Lu Yuan called out softly, "Your Holiness." The golden crocodile also greeted Bibidon. With the presence of Lu Yuan, the relationship between the consecration hall and Bibidon wasn't as bad as it was in the original work. Although there was still something wrong, it was a lot better overall. "Consecrators, you're here too?" Bibidon's red lips opened slightly, her voice as crisp as an oriole's. "Yes, the battle between the head consecrator and the Dragon Emperor is so intense. We naturally sensed it too," the golden crocodile said. "Yes." Bibidon nodded slightly and looked up at the battle in the sky. Seeing this, the consecrators also looked up into the sky. There, light and darkness clashed, and the battle was raging like a raging fire. Lu Yuan looked at Hulena and Zhu Zhuqing behind Bibidon, and the corner of his mouth curled up slightly. He strode towards the two women. Bibidon shook her head helplessly when she saw this. Wasn't this kid only away from them for a while? Can't wait to get together again. There are so many titled Douluo here watching. However, doesn't this mean that their relationship is very good? Therefore, Bibidon didn't want to care too much, and pretended not to see anything. As for what the other elders thought, Bibidon couldn't care less. The golden crocodile also discovered Lu Yuan's actions. Seeing Lu Yuan's actions, his face twitched. This kid is at it again. There are so many elders here, but he doesn't care about the consequences. To be honest, this kid is good at everything. He's talented, good-looking, and intelligent. The only thing is that he's a little fickle. However, seeing that Xiao Shui was the first one, the golden crocodile couldn't be bothered to care about him. He couldn't care less about this kid. The golden crocodile sighed helplessly. Senior sister, Zhu Qing. Lu Yuan nodded at the few titled Douluo. He held their hands and smiled as he spoke. Hulena's face was a little red. She glanced at the few titled Douluo around her and lowered her voice as she said, "Junior brother, there are still people watching." Zhu Zhuqing was even more flustered. Lu Yuan had grabbed her hand in front of so many titled Douluo, and she was already blushing. "It's all right. It's just a small problem." Lu Yuan didn't seem to care. After all, he was very thick-skinned. He didn't really care about what others thought. However, he also knew that the two girls couldn't let go. Therefore, he didn't do anything else. He just held their hands and didn't do anything else. The titled Douluo were all very perceptive. Naturally, they knew what Lu Yuan was doing. However, everyone pretended not to see anything. It wasn't up to them to care about such things. The Pope and the second consecrator didn't say anything. What did they have to worry about? However, they were secretly impressed by Lu Yuan in their hearts. Not only did he manage to get Qian Renxue, the high priest's favorite, but he also dared to hook up with other girls in front of them. He was indeed quite impressive. No wonder he was young Master Yuan. Second consecrator, who do you think will win? The Dragon Emperor Douluo or the Great Consecrator? Bibidon squinted as he watched the battle in the sky. There was a look of joy in his eyes. Others might not be able to tell, and might think that they were evenly matched. However, Bibidon knew that the Dragon Emperor Douluo had the upper hand. This was because Sendryu was best at fighting in the sky. If he couldn't beat Long Xiaoyaro in the sky, there was a high chance that he would lose on the ground. Of course it's the Great Consecrator. Golden Crocodile furrowed his brow. If Bibidon could tell, he could also tell that the great consecrator was at a disadvantage. The Dragon Emperor Douluo was unexpectedly strong. However, he couldn't say that Sendryu would lose. He was the second consecrator of the Consecrator Hall. He could only support Sendryu. Is that so? Bibidon smiled. I think the Dragon Emperor Douluo has a higher chance of winning. Hearing this, the elders and consecrators didn't say anything. They felt that the atmosphere was a little different. There was a formless smoke that was spreading. The relationship between the Pope and the great consecrator was still a little complicated. There was still conflict, especially since the Pope was still very hostile to the great consecrator. This was especially so for those who knew the inside story. For example, Golden Crocodile could only sigh helplessly in the face of Bibidon's attitude. After all, the Qian family had let the Pope down. Chapter 326. Angelic Domain. Sendryu roared in the sky, and bright golden light started to spread. It formed a golden domain that spread towards Long Xiaoyao. The angelic domain was the innate domain of six-winged angels. It was very powerful. When Lu Yuan fought Chihiro Snow, Lu Yuan could easily suppress Chihiro Snow without using his domain. However, once he used his domain, Lu Yuan could only fight to a draw with Chihiro Snow even with his golden dragon armor. If he didn't use his Polychoria, Lu Yuan wouldn't have been able to break through Chihiro Snow's angelic domain so easily. Chihiro Snow was only in the initial stages of using his angelic domain. However, Sendryu had already developed it to the highest level. It was very powerful. Of course, Sendryu's opponent wasn't an ordinary person. He was also a top-tier individual. Darkness Domain. Long Xiaoyao also roared. Pure darkness started to spread from his body in all directions. The boundless darkness formed a mysterious domain that extended towards Sendryu's angelic domain. The angelic domain and the darkness domain clashed. Light and darkness started an intense battle. Light and darkness intertwined and eroded each other. The battle was very intense. Was light able to tear apart the world of darkness, or was darkness able to swallow all light? This was the focus of everyone's attention. Angelic True Body. Darkness Holy Dragon True Body. Sendryu and Sendryu clashed intensely. Long Xiaoyao's huge black dragon tail swung violently against Sendryu's body. Sendryu's body flew backwards. The 6 pairs of wings on Sendryu's back flapped. He stabilized himself. His calm eyes flickered with golden flames. He was at a disadvantage in this head-on battle. After all, this was his home ground. Sendryu was a little astonished. Long Xiaoyao was simply too strong. He seemed to be even stronger than Tang Chen. If Tang Chen hadn't used his explosive ring, he wouldn't have been able to force Long Xiaoyao into such a state in the air. Long Xiaoyao is actually stronger than Tang Chen under normal circumstances. Sendryu felt a chill in his heart. He decided to use all of his trump cards. In the martial Soul Palace, in front of so many titled Douluo, he was the great consecrator. He couldn't lose. He was a legend in the hearts of all the consecrators in the Consecrator Hall. He was the true pillar of stability. How could he lose? Sendryu was sent flying, and the darkness domain began to suppress the angel domain. The light was gradually swallowed by the darkness, and the angel domain began to lose its luster, becoming much dimmer. The scene in the sky didn't escape the eyes of many titled Douluo. A few of the consecrators were shocked. The darkness was suppressing the light. Was the great consecrator going to lose? The golden crocodile also furrowed his brow. However, he wasn't too worried. He was old, and had spent a lot more time in the Consecrator Hall than the other consecrators. He knew some things that the other consecrators didn't know. For example, he knew that Sendryu could borrow divine power. The golden crocodile felt that as long as Sendryu could borrow divine power, his abilities would increase tremendously. Then, the outcome of this battle wouldn't be decided yet. Therefore, he was still more biased towards Sendryu. Seeing that Sendryu was being suppressed, Bibidon's lips curled up. Although she knew that Sendryu still had some trump cards, and that he might not lose in the end, he was clearly at a disadvantage right now. This made Bibidon very happy. Lu Yuan's eyes flickered as he looked at the darkness above, which had already taken over most of the area. At this point, Sendryu might have to borrow divine power. Otherwise, he would definitely lose. However, as the great consecrator, he couldn't lose. Therefore, borrowing divine power was imperative. Sendryu's body suddenly shone with rich golden light, and a holy aura exuded from his body. An illusory figure seemed to appear behind him. That illusory figure was clad in dazzling golden armor, and it held a huge golden sword in its hand. Golden light gathered in Sendryu's hand, and a huge golden sword appeared in his hand. He swung the huge sword down and uttered a few words, "Angel, Judgment." The huge golden sword seemed to be magnified by 100 times. It swept across the sky and slashed down towards Long Xiaoyao. The holy illusory figure behind him did the same thing. Suddenly, the sky seemed to be split into two. The huge golden sword swept across the sky, and the dark domain was instantly sliced apart. Boundless light was released, and the holy power seemed to be able to wipe away all the filth and evil in the world. Long Xiaoyao's expression turned serious as he saw the huge golden sword coming towards him. There was a rare look of seriousness in his eyes. This strength was a serious threat to him. Furthermore, the holy aura that it exuded didn't belong to a human soul master. It was something that only those who had surpassed the limits of human beings could possess. The huge golden sword locked onto him. Therefore, he couldn't dodge this attack. He could only face it head-on. Ninth soul skill, Dragon Emperor's alternate dimension. Long Xiaoyao didn't dare to be careless as he faced Sendryu's attack. He immediately unleashed his strongest ninth soul skill. His ninth soul skill was a little special. Although it came from 100,000-year soul ring, it only had one soul skill. Of course, this also meant that this soul skill was exceptionally strong. This was especially so when he was still in his martial soul true body state. Boundless power of darkness started to gather. A dark singularity started to appear in Long Xiaoyao's palm. This black singularity was very small, but it seemed to contain the deepest darkness. The black singularity slowly expanded. Suddenly, a dark sphere appeared in Long Xiaoyao's hand. As he released his soul power, the sphere became bigger and bigger. In the end, it was bigger than Long Xiaoyao's body. Long Xiaoyao pushed his hands forward as he saw the huge golden sword coming towards him. The energy sphere that contained boundless darkness collided with the huge golden sword. Golden light and darkness clashed with each other before exploding into a blinding light. Even Lu Yuan, who had activated his polychoria, couldn't help but blink. Hu Liana and Zhu Zhuqing closed their eyes tightly as tears flowed out of their eyes. This was due to the extremely intense light flashing in their eyes. Up in the air, spatial cracks had appeared where the energy had erupted. The attacks of the two limit Douluos had broken through space, and in particular, the powers of darkness and light clashed with one another, resulting in an explosion of power that was several times more powerful than the one that had been unleashed by the limit Douluo. Both of them started to descend slowly. Their clothes seemed to be intact, and they didn't seem to be injured. Long Xiaoyao landed beside Lu Yuan. His breathing was a little hurried. Unleashing his ninth soul skill with all his might must have been a huge burden for him. Sendryu slowly landed beside Golden Crocodile. He also seemed very calm. Apart from a few drops of sweat on his forehead, he didn't seem to be in any strange condition. The question was, who had won this round? Chapter 327. Everyone was sizing up the two of them. The intense light from before was simply too dazzling. They really didn't notice who won and who lost. After all, even Lu Yuan's polychoria blinked slightly. Although these consecrators were strong, their eyes were definitely not as strong as Lu Yuan's. Even the Golden Crocodile didn't see it clearly. Although he had some guesses, he didn't dare to make any guarantees. After all, although he was level 98, he was only level 98. There was still a huge gap between him and a level 99 existence. On the other hand, The silent Bibidon looked at the calm Sendryu and a hint of mockery flashed across his eyes. Senior sister, Zhuqing, are you all right? Lu Yuan couldn't help but ask when he saw the two tightly shut eyes with tears dripping from them. Junior brother, my eyes hurt so much. Helena's voice carried a trace of pain. Clearly, her eyes had been burned by the intense light. My eyes hurt a little too. Zhuqing frowned and said. Hearing this, Lu Yuan frowned slightly. He knew Zhuqing's endurance. If even she said it hurt a little, it seemed that their eyes were seriously injured. Raising his hands, Lu Yuan placed them beside Helena's temples. The white and blue lights in his hands intertwined and slowly flowed from Lu Yuan's fingertips, covering Helena's eyes. The white light was the purest clear qi divine energy, while the blue light was the ocean god's vast ocean divine energy. The clear qi divine energy and vast ocean divine energy both had the effect of nourishing and healing injuries. Senior sister, how do you feel? Lu Yuan asked as he slowly poured the two divine energies in. I feel very comfortable. It's cold and my eyes don't seem to hurt anymore. Helena's voice sounded with pleasant surprise. That's good. Lu Yuan smiled when he heard that. As long as it was effective, it was good. After treating Helena for a while, Lu Yuan began to treat Zhuqing. It had to be said that the clear qi divine power was indeed the clear qi divine power. It had endless uses. Combined with the vast ocean power, the healing effect was excellent. After a while, Zhuqing slowly opened her eyes. Zhuqing, does it still hurt? Lu Yuan gently caressed Zhuqing's face, his eyes filled with tenderness. It doesn't hurt anymore, it's completely healed. Hearing this, Zhuqing's cold little face revealed a trace of a smile. That's great. Lu Yuan heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that it could be completely treated. After all, the eyes were very fragile. He could not afford to leave any hidden dangers. Junior brother, between the head consecrator and senior dragon emperor, who won? Helena whispered into Lu Yuan's ear. Of course, Helena's voice was low. Apart from Lu Yuan and the other two, everyone present was at or above the titled rank. Of course, they could hear her. Who won? Lu Yuan's eyes flashed as he swept his gaze across Long Xiaoyaro and Sendryu. Long Xiaoyaro was still all right. He was just a little short of breath. After all, he had expended a lot of energy. However, Sendryu's calves were trembling. His hands were also twitching in his sleeves. Immediately, Lu Yuan revealed an unusual smile. This old man, Thousand Dao's Liu, really knew how to act. However, he was still Qian Renshue's grandfather after all. He still had to give him some face. Otherwise, if this old man were to add fuel to the fire, he wouldn't be able to explain himself to Qian Renshue. Moreover, if Qian Renshue didn't allow him to sleep with her because of this, it would be a huge joke. He could not do such a foolish thing. After all, Sendryu was still important to Chihiro Snow. I think it's a draw. Am I right, Elder Long? Lu Yuan's voice rang out. Long Xiaoyaro was stunned for a moment. After that, he immediately reacted and said, Master is right. The head priest and I are tied. Neither of us can win. Sendryu heaved a sigh of relief when he heard this. His impression of Lu Yuan became better. He was indeed his grandson-in-law. He was still biased towards him. Cher had made the right choice. He was well aware of the Thousand Dao flow. In fact, he was slightly inferior in the final battle. However, as the head consecrator, he could not admit that he was inferior to others. Lu Yuan's words really gave him a way out of this embarrassing situation. Furthermore, Long Xiaoyaro was also giving him face. Sendryu remembered all of this. So it's a draw. The elders and consecrated all seemed to be enlightened. Some of them did not know what was going on, while others had some guesses. No matter what, a draw was the best outcome. No one who could become a titled Douluo was a fool. This was especially so for the elders and consecrated of the martial Soul Palace. They were all very smart. They knew what they should say and what they should not say. Did it matter who won or lost? It did not matter. No matter who won, either the head priest or the Dragon Emperor Douluo could defeat them all. They could not afford to offend either of them. Lu Yuan's suggestion of a draw was undoubtedly the best way to deal with it. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, the golden crocodile revealed a smile on his face. He looked at Lu Yuan with a look of approval. This kid is still very sensible. He is never careless when it comes to important matters. Of course, it would be better if he wasn't so fickle. Is it a draw? Helena nodded slightly. That's right. At the level of an ultimate Douluo, both parties' martial souls were very similar. It would be very difficult to determine a winner. Bibidon looked at Lu Yuan with a half-smile when she heard the verdict of a draw. This kid is really cunning. I don't believe that he doesn't know who won. After seeing Bibidon's meaningful look, Lu Yuan laughed awkwardly. Others might not know who won, but Bibidon definitely knew. This was because she was at the same level as them. Even though she could not unleash her full strength because of her Luosha inheritance, her abilities might be a little weaker than theirs. However, her eyesight was also very good. How could such a battle escape her eyes? However, he was not worried. Bibidon would definitely not expose him. With Bibidon's intelligence, she would definitely be able to guess what he was thinking. After all, she was the only female pope of the Martial Soul Palace. She was very scheming. She definitely knew that he was only saying this because he was concerned about Cher. Even though she acted like she did not care about Chihiro Snow, she loved Chihiro Snow in her heart. It was only because she would think of the Chihiro disease when she saw Chihiro Snow. She would think of her nightmarish experience. This was why she pretended to be cold. After all, he was her flesh and blood. How could she not have feelings for him? This was why Lu Yuan did not panic at all. Chapter 328. You're quite crafty. In the pavilion in the middle of the lake, Bibidon took a sip of tea and said with a smile in her beautiful eyes, I knew I couldn't hide anything from teacher. Lu Yuan laughed. Bibidon's wisdom wasn't for show. Directly admitting it was the best way to deal with it. You're giving face to the head consecrator. Are you worried that if you lose face, you won't be able to explain it to Cher? Bibidon said. Hee hee. Lu Yuan laughed and didn't refute. This was his idea. He cared about Sendryu only because of Chihiro Snow. He himself had no feelings towards Sendryu. Teacher seems to like seeing the head consecrator being beaten. Lu Yuan carefully looked at Bibidon's expression and said tentatively, Is that so? Bibidon said indifferently. Yes, when I saw the head consecrator at a disadvantage, you smiled. You smiled very happily. Lu Yuan said. You must have seen wrongly. Bibidon said with a calm expression. I didn't see wrongly. In fact, teacher, you don't have to deny it in front of me. To be honest, when I saw the head consecrator at a disadvantage, I was also very happy. I didn't like him for a long time. He always acts high and mighty all day long. He really knows how to pretend. Lu Yuan curled his lips and said, You brat. Seeing Lu Yuan's expression, Bibidon couldn't help but smile sweetly. In an instant, it was as if the sun was shining brightly. Lu Yuan's eyes flashed with a trace of amazement. Bibidon's face was really beautiful. Especially when she smiled, it was as if 100 flowers bloomed. It was too beautiful to be absorbed. Seeing Lu Yuan's expression, Bibidon knew that his disciple already knew that his relationship with Sendryu wasn't good. The two of them didn't get along. Although Lu Yuan didn't say it explicitly, it was clear that he would stand on his side if the two of them fell out. If Lu Yuan's position wasn't important in the past, now that he had Long Xiaoyaro, who was slightly stronger than Sendryu, behind him, Lu Yuan's position was very important. Bibidon's heart warmed. His disciple was still on his side. He didn't dote on him for nothing. He carefully sized up Lu Yuan in front of him. Although he was only 12 years old, he already had the appearance of a youth. He was very handsome. His eyebrows were sharp and his eyes were bright. His facial features were distinct, and his face looked as if it had been carved by a knife. His eyes also brought about endless mystery. His entire person exuded the aura of an immortal. Perhaps it was because he possessed the bloodline of the Golden Dragon, but his entire person exuded a masculine aura. This masculine aura didn't destroy Lu Yuan's immortal aura. Instead, it blended perfectly with Lu Yuan's aura. It even added to Lu Yuan's charm. Bibidon was sure that his disciple was very popular with the ladies. With his looks, strength, and intelligence, even his daughter and disciple, these two proud daughters of the heavens, could be captured in one fell swoop. Other girls would probably find it even harder to resist his charm. Zhu Zhuqing was still on the island in the middle of the lake. Bibidon was sure that there weren't just a few ladies who liked his disciple. There might even be many outstanding ladies who were worried about him. Honestly speaking, Bibidon thought to himself, if he had met a young talent like Lu Yuan before he had experienced love all those years ago, he probably wouldn't have been able to resist falling for him. Bibidon gently lifted her hand and rubbed Lu Yuan's head. She wore a warm smile on her face. Ever since Lu Yuan left 2 years ago, she hadn't been so close to her disciple for a very long time. Feeling Bibidon's closeness, Lu Yuan's eyes slightly narrowed. Perhaps Bibidon was the only one who would rub his head so intimately. This made Lu Yuan feel nostalgic. Dragons were proud creatures. They wouldn't easily let others rub their heads. Even Chihiro Snow and Jiyu Yuana didn't dare to rub Lu Yuan's head. This was because they were Lu Yuan's women, not Lu Yuan's elders. They were the ones who were doted on. If someone were to rub their heads, it would be Lu Yuan. And Lu Yuan's other elder, fellows, was a typical old man. He wouldn't be able to do such a sentimental action. Only Bibidon, Lu Yuan's master and elder sister, could give Lu Yuan this kind of feeling of being doted on and cared for. Teacher. Lu Yuan clasped Bibidong's jade-like hands with both of his hands and called out affectionately, "What is it?" Bibidon smiled warmly. "Nothing." Lu Yuan smiled and concealed the ripples in his eyes. He told himself once again that this was his teacher. Bibidon didn't mind that Lu Yuan was clasping her hand. "I heard that you're planning to establish a power in Heaven Do City?" "Yes, I'm thinking of doing that," Lu Yuan replied. "What are you thinking? How do you plan to do it?" Bibidon stood up and straightened out Lu Yuan's disheveled collar. She bent over slightly, and an alluring fragrance wafted into Lu Yuan's nose, causing Lu Yuan's heart to palpitate slightly. But Lu Yuan quickly suppressed these emotions. He didn't know why, but he was becoming more and more restless these days. The person in front of him was his teacher. Damn it. Lu Yuan couldn't help but curse himself. However, Bibidon's charm was truly great. Every single one of her actions was filled with a moving charm. When the time comes, we can rope in a few idol titled Douluo, such as Douluo. At the same time, I'm preparing to open an academy in Heaven Do Imperial City, Lu Yuan said. Oh, how are you going to rope him in? Douluo has a very strange temper, and he has close ties with the Heaven Do Imperial family. Are you confident? Bibidon asked. Of course. I have my own methods, but I'll keep them a secret for now. Lu Yuan blinked, pretending to be mysterious. You brat, you're even playing this game with your teacher. Bibidon pointed at Lu Yuan's forehead and pouted. Lu Yuan chuckled, but didn't comment. Forget it. Since you're so confident, then do it yourself. If there's anything you need, just tell me, Bibidon said. Oh, right. You said you wanted to open an academy. Bibidon suddenly recalled the second half of Lu Yuan's words. Yes. I'm bored, so I decided to open an academy for fun. It'll also provide fresh blood for the organization I'm about to establish. Lu Yuan laughed. You have a good idea. Bibidon nodded. Lu Yuan's plan wasn't bad. Furthermore, from the way he was acting, it didn't seem like he didn't have any intention of helping share in Heaven Do. Perhaps that was the main reason. Otherwise, there were plenty of places to establish an organization. There was no need to choose Heaven Do Imperial City. This brat had done so much for Cher, but he didn't say a word about it. He just did it in silence. Who knew if Cher would understand his painstaking efforts? Chapter 329. However, When he thought about Chihiro Snow's intelligence, Bibidon shook his head slightly. Cher would definitely be able to tell. After all, Cher was still a very rational person. Even if she was a little delirious after meeting his precious disciple, it wouldn't affect her intelligence. She was still very intelligent when it came to important matters. Unlike Nana, Bibidon sighed in his heart. Nana was usually very intelligent, but when she met Lu Yuan, it was as if she had lost her mind. Her entire heart was placed on him, and she didn't have any of her previous intelligence. Love really could lower a woman's intelligence. Thinking about it, the future pope could only be a Buchi. Bibidon felt that Nana was still a little unreliable. As for Chihiro Snow, Bibidon didn't even consider it. Anyone could be the pope, except for someone with the surname Chen. This was Bibidon's bottom line. Do you need to bring a few titled Douluo with you to Heaven Do to keep up appearances? I still have 2 titled Douluo under me, Bibidon said. Lu Yuan wasn't surprised by Bibidon's words. Bibidon was a very scheming woman. She knew how to hide her strength and bide her time. It couldn't be more normal for her to secretly nurture her own titled Douluo. However, Bibidon was willing to reveal everything to him. It seemed like she really thought of him as someone she could trust. Bibidon was a very emotional person. It was very difficult to enter her heart, but once she approved of you, she would treat you very well. Take Hulena for example. Bibidon raised her like a daughter from the bottom of her heart. In the original novel, Hulena had basically completely replaced Chihiro Snow's position and was deeply doted on by Bibidon. In this life, there was another Lu Yuan. Perhaps Bibidon also had the same thoughts about Lu Yuan, so he treated him very well. Lu Yuan was touched by Bibidon's kindness, but he still refused. He hoped that the force he was building would belong to him and no one else would interfere. Even if those titled battle pet warriors followed him, they would still be Bibidon's men. It would be difficult for him to use them. There's no need for that, teacher. Elder Long will be fine with me, Lu Yuan said. Is that so? All right, but if you need anything, just let me know. Bibidon patted Lu Yuan's head and said, Yes, I understand. Lu Yuan nodded slightly. Bibidon glanced at Hulena, who was hiding not far away, and said, Then let's stop here. Your senior sister is anxiously waiting at the side. You youngsters can't even be separated for a while. Bibidon teased. Hee hee. Lu Yuan smiled awkwardly. His eyes suddenly turned and he said, Teacher, you're also young. Do you believe that if you and senior sister were to walk on the street together, people would definitely not think that you two are master and disciple, but sisters? You're talking nonsense again. Bibidon glanced at Lu Yuan with her beautiful eyes, but her eyes were full of smiles. Which woman didn't want others to say that they were young? Even Bibidon was no exception. Teacher, I'll go then, Lu Yuan said. Ian, go. Don't let your senior sister and the others wait. Bibidon smiled. After listening to Bibidon's words, Lu Yuan smiled, turned around, and walked out. Wait. Bibidon's voice sounded, and Lu Yuan couldn't help but stop. Abuchi, I have a question. Where are you going to stay tonight? There are 2 girls here waiting for you. Bibidon's tone had a hint of ridicule. Hearing this, Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. Teacher, when did you have such a bad taste? Night fell. Creak. This was the sound of the door being pushed open. Hulena was lying on the bed, wearing a loose nightgown. Her charming eyes blinked as she looked at Lu Yuan's tall and straight figure outside the door. Her lips curved into a beautiful smile. Junior brother, you're here? Didn't you say that you won't let me go tonight? I'm here to see how powerful you are. Lu Yuan smiled and closed the door. As for Bibidon's suggestion of where to sleep tonight, Lu Yuan naturally already had a plan. The first night he came back, he would definitely stay at Hulena's place. After all, the 2 of them hadn't seen each other for 2 years, and Zhu Zhuqing had been with him for some time. This kind of choice wasn't difficult to make. Then why don't you come and see? Hulena threw a coquettish glance at Lu Yuan. Suddenly, an indescribable charm filled the entire room. Heh, then I'm coming. In the face of such an invitation, Lu Yuan naturally wouldn't refuse. Moreover, since she dared to provoke him in this aspect, he was sure that Helena would regret it. The blood in his body was slightly restless. During this period of time, it seemed to be particularly active. Lu Yuan could no longer suppress the throbbing in his heart. He walked to the bedside and pulled Helena into his arms. Looking at Helena's moving face, Lu Yuan slowly kissed her. Early morning. Lu Yuan opened his eyes and looked at Helena curled up in his arms with a smile on his face. This senior sister, didn't she provoke him in every possible way before they started? In the end, didn't she kneel and beg for mercy last night? Thinking of the wonderful scene last night, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile slightly. He closed his eyes and felt the blood in his body. It had calmed down a lot. Sure enough, the restlessness in his heart still needed to be vented out. Looking at Helena's long eyelashes and pink face in his arms, Lu Yuan couldn't help but feel a sense of love and pity. Last night, senior sister was much more tired than Cher. She was much more proactive than Cher. Facing him, she refused to admit defeat. She only surrendered when she really couldn't take it anymore. Therefore, the result was that she still hadn't woken up. Looking at Helena's slightly frowning brows, a blue and white light circulated in Lu Yuan's hand. It was the clear Qi divine power and the vast ocean divine power. Since these two divine powers could even heal eyes, it shouldn't be a big problem to nourish Helena's body. The blue and white light entered Helena's body from Lu Yuan's fingertips and slowly nourished her body. With the slow infusion of the two divine powers, Helena's slightly furrowed brows slowly relaxed and a pair of beautiful eyes slowly opened. Junior brother. Helena's jade-like arms directly wrapped around Lu Yuan's neck. Her red lips directly pressed against Lu Yuan's lips. Her beautiful face gently pressed against Lu Yuan's cheek as she faintly whispered, "Senior sister." Gently pushing Helena's short golden hair behind her ear, Lu Yuan gently kissed Helena's forehead and said in a gentle voice, "Junior brother, I'm finally yours." Helena chuckled and her beautiful face was filled with satisfaction. "You must treat me well in the future. Don't let me down." Helena whispered in Lu Yuan's ear, "I will treat you well for the rest of my life, my good senior sister." Lu Yuan smiled and hugged Helena's delicate body tightly in his arms. Chapter 330. 2 months later. Junior brother, I can't bear to part with you. Helena hugged Lu Yuan tightly, her seductive eyes filled with reluctance. Senior sister, I can't bear to part with you either. Lu Yuan gently embraced Helena's delicate body, feeling the beautiful undulations of her body, and a fire began to burn in his heart. During these 2 months, Lu Yuan and Helena had interacted many times, and they were already familiar with each other. After all, they were both young people, and it was natural for them to want more. Now that he was about to leave, Lu Yuan's heart was naturally filled with reluctance. After these 2 months of hard work by Lu Yuan, Helena had changed a lot. Not only was her complexion more rosy and lustrous, but even her figure seemed to have become more voluptuous, and she was even more alluring. Every movement of hers was filled with a moving charm. Helena's current size was almost comparable to Zhu Zhuqing's, and her figure was truly superb. Junior brother, how about I go with you? I don't want to be separated from you. Helena hugged Lu Yuan's neck, her voice filled with longing and reluctance. She had always liked to stick to Lu Yuan, and it was very uncomfortable to not see him for even a day. Now that she had become more intimate with Lu Yuan, she liked to stick to Lu Yuan even more. She didn't want to be separated from Lu Yuan for even a moment. During this period of time, no matter where Lu Yuan went, Helena would follow him closely. They were almost conjoined twins, and even the good-tempered Zhu Zhuqing couldn't stand it anymore. Because Helena had always been hogging Lu Yuan didn't have much time to accompany her. Therefore, even though Zhu Zhuqing didn't say anything, she already had some small complaints in her heart. That's enough, senior sister. Lu Yuan tousled Helena's hair. I have a mission in Heaven Do Imperial City, so I can't reveal my identity. The spies of the major powers already know what you look like, so how can you go with me? You should stay in the Martial Soul Palace. I promise you that I'll come back to visit you whenever I have time. Lu Yuan said. I don't believe that you'll remember me after meeting Chihiro Snow in Heaven-Do Imperial City. Helena snorted and said, and you promised me the same last time. In the end, you didn't come back for 2 years. Do you know how much I missed you? Hearing this, Lu Yuan's face showed a trace of embarrassment. It seemed that this senior sister still had a problem with him not coming back to see her for more than 2 years. He was afraid that it would be the same this time. Lu Yuan raised his hand and vowed, I promise you on my integrity that I won't this time. I'll come back to see you when I have time. Really? Helena was a little skeptical. It's true, Lu Yuan said without hesitation. Then I'll believe you one more time, Helena said. Bibidon shook his head. This girl is still too inexperienced. If this brat Abuchi said it in a normal tone, then it would be believable. But if he were to swear on his integrity, then forget it. This brat probably doesn't know when he'll have time to come back. If I were you, I'd secretly follow him. Do you think this brat will send you back when you reach Heaven-Do Imperial City? Isn't it easy to hide his identity? There are many ways, but this brat probably doesn't want you to meet Cher. Bibidon thought to himself. Suddenly, Lu Yuan, who was comforting Helena, felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if someone had seen through him. It was as Bibidon said. On one hand, he was afraid of exposing his identity. On the other hand, he didn't want Helena and Chihiro Snow to meet too early. Lu Yuan was keenly aware that Chihiro Snow had a faint hostility toward Helena. After all, before Lu Yuan came, Bibidon had given all his love to Helena. Helena, on the other hand, had enjoyed the motherly love that originally belonged to her. Later on, with Lu Yuan, Chihiro Snow finally found his own love. But then he realized that he still had to share a man with Helena. This made Chihiro Snow even angrier. You want to share my motherly love and steal my love. Perhaps Helena wasn't aware of all this and didn't have any intention of going against Chihiro Snow. However, Chihiro Snow didn't think that way. Originally, he had resentment toward Helena. Coupled with Lu Yuan, hostility naturally rose in his heart. Chihiro Snow probably didn't notice this hostility. However, Lu Yuan's perception was so keen that he noticed Chihiro Snow's abnormality. In order to avoid any unpleasantness between Chihiro Snow and Helena when they met, Lu Yuan decided not to let them meet for the time being. He would wait until Lu Yuan appeased Chihiro Snow's resentment. He didn't want his harem to be on fire. Then I'll go now. Senior sister, take good care of yourself, Lu Yuan said softly. Helena nodded gently. She was exceptionally well behaved. Releasing Helena, Lu Yuan said to Bibidon, Teacher, I'll be on my way. Go. Be careful on the road. When you reach Heaven-Do Imperial City, find Salas if you need anything. Tell him to pass on the message to me. I'll do my best to support you, Bibidon said. Thank you, teacher. After hearing Bibidon's words, Lu Yuan's heart warmed. This beautiful teacher of his was really good to him. He secretly decided that he would definitely change Bibidon's tragic fate and give her a good ending. All right, go ahead. Bibidon nodded slightly and said. After bidding farewell to the two of them, Lu Yuan took Zhu Zhuqing's hand and walked toward a nearby carriage. Zhu Zhuqing. Helena's voice suddenly sounded, causing the two of them to stop in their tracks. Take good care of junior brother. Helena's gentle voice sounded in their ears. I will. Zhu Zhuqing's somewhat cold voice sounded. The carriage slowly drove out of Martial Spirit City. In the carriage, Lu Yuan leaned slightly against the side wall of the carriage with a distant look in his eyes. What's wrong? Thinking about Helena again? Zhu Zhuqing's somewhat cold voice sounded. Lu Yuan tilted his head slightly and looked at Zhu Zhuqing beside him with a wry smile on his face. He gently pinched Zhu Zhuqing's beautiful face. Are you still jealous? How would I dare? That's your most beloved senior sister. She's always by your side. How would I dare to be jealous of her? Zhu Zhuqing's eyes were indifferent as her red lips parted slightly. Still say you're not jealous? Lu Yuan gently wrapped his arm around Zhu Zhuqing's waist and pulled her into his embrace. Senior sister and I don't have many chances to see each other. It's a rare opportunity, so I'll accompany her for a few more days. You have to be more tolerant, but you don't have to stick together every night. In the past 2 months, have you come to my room more than 10 times at night? Zhu Zhuqing stared at Lu Yuan with her beautiful big eyes and a questioning tone. Hearing this, Lu Yuan's face revealed a trace of embarrassment. This was indeed his fault and there was no way to clear it. Chapter 331. Facing the questioning look in Zhu Zhuqing's cold eyes, Lu Yuan smiled bitterly. Indeed, he had wronged Zhu Zhuqing for the past 2 months, making her spend most of her time alone in an empty room. It was indeed his fault. The main reason was that he and Helena were together, so he immediately immersed himself in it and neglected Zhu Zhuqing. You have nothing to say? Zhu Zhuqing glanced at Lu Yuan. Her pair of cold eyes stared straight at Lu Yuan's face. All right, it's my fault. I neglected your feelings. I apologize. Lu Yuan gently hugged Zhu Zhuqing, lifted her up, and placed her on his lap. Their foreheads touched as he said, "Humph." Zhu Zhuqing snorted and fiercely pinched Lu Yuan's waist, causing Lu Yuan to grimace in pain. Good Zhuqing, don't be angry, okay? Lu Yuan gently rubbed Zhu Zhuqing's cheeks, and his hot breath hit Zhu Zhuqing's ears. Zhu Zhuqing couldn't help but blush, and she was a little moved. Then you have to promise that you will never treat me like this again. At the very least, you have to be fair and not be so biased like this time. Zhu Zhuqing said. All right, I promise you. Hearing Zhu Zhuqing's words, Lu Yuan immediately nodded his head. That's more like it. Zhu Zhuqing snorted. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something. Her face carried a trace of shyness. Is that kind of thing really so memorable? I see that every time you see Helena, your eyes are burning with flames. You can't wait to swallow her whole. Zhu Zhuqing faintly said. Lu Yuan's face surged with a touch of strangeness. How should he explain this? He pondered for a moment and said, You'll know when you try it in the future. At that time, maybe you'll be even crazier than senior sister. His eyes carried a trace of inexplicable color. A tigress was very powerful in this aspect. Although Zhuqing wasn't a tigress, she could be considered a little tiger. She might really be more powerful than senior sister. Screw you. After listening to Lu Yuan's words, Zhu Zhuqing's face suddenly turned red as if it was on fire. She hammered Lu Yuan hard. This bad egg, how dare he say that to her? Didn't he know that she was thin-skinned? Hee. Lu Yuan chuckled and looked at Zhu Zhuqing with an inexplicable gaze. Come, Zhuqing, let me see how much you've grown. As he spoke, his hands began to move upwards. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing's delicate body suddenly trembled. A layer of mist filled her big eyes as she softly muttered, Elder Long is still outside. It's fine. Lu Yuan waved his hand, and the vast sea cosmic shroud instantly flew into his palm, upon which a dazzling blue light enshrouded the two of them. I'm coming. Lu Yuan chuckled and began his actions. Woo. Heaven Do Imperial City. As he looked at the somewhat familiar streets, a nostalgic look flashed across Lu Yuan's eyes. He hadn't been here for 2 years. The last time he was here, he had caused a huge commotion, and had a huge impact on the situation in Heaven Do Imperial City. Lu Yuan's name was still deeply engraved in the memories of the leaders of the various large organizations. Of course, there was also Long Xiaoyao, who had severely injured Du Gubo with a light wave of his hand. The leaders of the various organizations in Heaven Do Imperial City were wary of him, and he was listed as an enemy that they couldn't afford to offend. Although Lu Yuan and Long Xiaoyao hadn't stayed in Heaven Do Imperial City for very long, they still had a huge influence in this place. Ding. Sign-in mission released. Sign-in location, Icefire Yin Yang Well. Sign-in time, 1 month. Sign-in reward, complete Pill Dao, 1 set of experience as a Class 6 Soul Engineer. Hey! After hearing the familiar system's voice, Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly. This was interesting. A complete pill Dao and a set of experience as a Class 6 Soul engineer were still very useful to Lu Yuan, who wanted to establish his own organization. Pills could rapidly increase one's cultivation and nurture talents. Soul tools were even better. With these things, he wasn't afraid that Ning Fengji wouldn't submit to him. After all, soul tools weren't much more advanced than hidden weapons, and they came in many forms. As long as there was soul power, auxiliary-type soul tools could become assault-type soul tools, as long as there was enough firepower. It was just that soul tools burned a lot of money. However, with the 7 treasures glazed sect's wealth, they shouldn't be afraid of burning money. As he thought until here, the corner of Lu Yuan's mouth lifted slightly. This system was very considerate. Although it didn't give him anything to increase his fighting strength, these 2 things were already very impressive. It could be said that they had basically laid the foundation for Lu Yuan to establish his own organization. This check-in was considered a low-level one, as it wasn't very difficult, and it didn't have much of an impact. After all, with Lu Yuan's current strength and influence, entering the Icefire Yin-Yang well was no different from going to the market, even if Du Gubo was at home. As long as Long Xiaoyaro waved his hand slightly, Du Gubo would have to lie down. Thinking about it this way, the system was very generous this time. "Master, where are we going now? Are we going to find Mistress?" Long Xiaoyaro asked. "Let's not find Cher for now. Let's find a place to settle down first. There are too many people around, and it's bound to be troublesome. We're not in a hurry to find Cher," Lu Yuan said. "Yes, Master," Long Xiaoyaro said. "This is the best residence you have here." Lu Yuan looked at the huge residence in front of him. He was very calm as he asked the middle-aged man beside him. This residence had an ancient feel to it, and Lu Yuan liked it very much. The Douluo continent was a very special place. Eastern and Western cultures intersected here, and the ancient and modern times seemed to have merged together. There were castles and houses, but there were also pavilions and pavilions. It was a little strange. Lu Yuan was looking for a building that leaned towards the east. "Yes, sir. This is the best residence we have here. Not only are the roads good, but it also occupies a lot of space. The most important thing is that the environment is very quiet. Does this meet your requirements? Are you satisfied with it?" the middle-aged man asked. "Zhu Qing, what do you think?" Lu Yuan asked Zhu Zhuqing, who was beside him. "Not bad." Zhu Zhuqing nodded slightly and said, "Then let's buy this place. We'll pay the full price. It's fine if it's a little expensive. What I want is to be able to move in tonight. Is that okay?" Lu Yuan said. "No problem. We'll arrange everything for you as soon as possible. I guarantee that you'll be able to move in comfortably tonight." After hearing Lu Yuan's words, the middle-aged man's eyes narrowed into slits as he smiled. This residence occupied a lot of space. It used to be the residence of a marquis, but something happened to the marquis, and the residence was sold. The residence was very good, but it was a little expensive. It cost 2 million gold soul coins, so it hadn't been sold. He didn't expect a rich man like Lu Yuan to come today. He didn't treat money as money at all. Where else could he find such a rich man? How could the middle-aged man not be happy? Chapter 332. As night fell, Lu Yuan's group of 3 comfortably settled into this large residence. It had to be said that the power of money was enormous. As long as there was enough money, the efficiency of things would be very high. This residence was indeed worthy of being the residence of a marquis. The furnishings inside were quite luxurious. Although it definitely couldn't be compared to the Martial Soul Palace, it was still a place that only nobles with status could afford to live in. Lu Yuan's group naturally lived in the best rooms, which were on the east side of the residence. The rooms on the west side of the residence were all guest rooms, which were used to entertain guests. They spent money to pick 2 nimble and good-looking girls from the market to do some housework. After all, they couldn't let Lu Yuan's group do this kind of thing. Furthermore, Zhu Zhuqing, as a young miss, didn't know anything other than eating. Needless to say, her cooking skills were needless. Even the food she roasted was something that even dogs wouldn't eat. She even learned how to wash clothes during her training, and she wasn't very good at it. As for how Lu Yuan knew, it could be seen from the white cloud silk robe that was missing from Lu Yuan's star ring. That was in Shrek. There was once when Lu Yuan's clothes were a little dirty, and Zhu Zhuqing volunteered to help wash them. In the end, after washing them, they were even dirtier than before. From then on, Lu Yuan knew that Zhu Zhuqing wasn't cut out for this kind of thing. She was born with the fate of being served by others. At the same time, Lu Yuan had some guesses about why Zhu Zhuqing always wore black clothes. Perhaps it was because black clothes didn't look dirty. Of course, he wouldn't say this out loud. Otherwise, Zhu Zhuqing would definitely get angry with him. However, it wasn't just Zhu Zhuqing. Chihiro Snow and Helena were all the same. They were all top-notch young misses who didn't do any household chores and were very good at eating. As for cooking, hey, they were all Almaudi kings. Once they started, they would expose everything. As for Jiu Yuena, her clothes were all illusions, so there was no need to say anything more. Therefore, it was necessary to have a few maidservants to serve her. After dinner, Lu Yuan returned to his room. As for Zhu Zhuqing's room, it was right next to his. This was Zhu Zhuqing's own request. No matter where Lu Yuan lived, she wanted to live next door to Lu Yuan. As for what she was thinking, Lu Yuan didn't need to guess. This girl wanted to keep an eye on him, afraid that he would abandon her again. Creak. This was the sound of the door being pushed open. Zhu Zhuqing walked in with a pillow in her arms. Zhuqing. Seeing Zhu Zhuqing's figure, Lu Yuan was slightly stunned. Didn't this girl say that she wanted to sleep alone tonight? Why did he come here? What's wrong, Zhuqing? Why aren't you sleeping yet? Lu Yuan asked. I can't sleep alone, Zhu Zhuqing said softly. Then you can sleep with me tonight. Lu Yuan understood Zhu Zhuqing's situation very well. With a sudden change of environment and no one by her side, it was indeed easy for her to lose sleep. Especially a girl like Zhu Zhuqing who was a little sensitive, she was even more easily affected. Zhu Zhuqing nodded and walked over to Lu Yuan's side. She took off her shoes and climbed onto the bed. Lu Yuan. Zhu Zhuqing hugged Lu Yuan from behind, her charming face sticking to Lu Yuan's back. Zhuqing, I'll take you to see Cher tomorrow, Lu Yuan said. Ah. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing's face was a little surprised, and then a little nervous. She was afraid that Chihiro Snow would have a problem with her. After all, Chihiro Snow was the first woman to have a relationship with Lu Yuan. She and Helena were later, so when she saw Chihiro Snow, Zhu Zhuqing was still a little nervous. It's okay. Although Cher is a little arrogant, she's actually a very good person. She won't make things difficult for you. However, if it's senior sister, it's a little difficult. Lu Yuan said. Why? Zhu Zhuqing was a little curious. It's like this. Lu Yuan told Zhu Zhuqing about the relationship between Chihiro Snow, Helena, and Bibidon. After all, Zhu Zhuqing was now one of them, so there was no need to hide it from her. So there's such a thing. After listening to Lu Yuan's words, Zhu Zhuqing's face had a hint of realization. No wonder you didn't want to bring Helena over. If the two of them met, I'm afraid the situation wouldn't be good. Isn't that so? Lu Yuan showed a wry smile and said, after I remove the thorn in Cher's heart, I'll let the two of them meet. Otherwise, I'm afraid there will be a fire. Cher's character is too strong. Except for me, no one can control her. Sometimes, even I can't control her. I have to go along with her. Heh, you brought this upon yourself. Who asked you to be so greedy and two-timing? Zhu Zhuqing ridiculed. Yes, I'm greedy. If I'm not greedy, how can I meet you, kitty? Little kitty. Lu Yuan turned around and pinched Zhu Zhuqing's nose as he said. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing smiled faintly and didn't say anything. Yes, if he was really devoted, then there would be no possibility between him and her. She wouldn't be as relaxed and happy as she was now. These were all brought to her by this man. Thinking about it, Zhu Zhuqing was a little open-minded. Go to sleep, Zhuqing. It's getting late. We still have to wake up early tomorrow. Lu Yuan gently hugged Zhu Zhuqing's waist and said. Okay. Zhu Zhuqing nodded. She leaned into Lu Yuan's embrace and hugged him tightly. Lu Yuan gently waved his sleeve, and the candlelight was extinguished. Their bodies slowly fell to the ground. It was a quiet night. They woke up early in the morning. After breakfast, Lu Yuan brought Zhu Zhuqing to the Crown Prince's residence. Long Xiaoyaro followed behind them. With the vast sea cosmic shroud, their movements naturally wouldn't alert anyone. Crown Prince's residence. Chihiro Snow twirled the brush in his hand slightly. He looked at the frenzy rhino Douluo in front of him and asked, I heard that rascal has come to Heaven Do Imperial City. Yes, young Master Yuan just arrived yesterday. He bought a house that Marquis Hill used to live in as his temporary residence. Right now, he might be on his way to you. The frenzy rhino Douluo said. Perhaps this rascal is here to establish his own organization. I want to see how he's going to gather a lineup that can rival the Pontiff Palace and the Consecration Hall. Chihiro Snow's lips curled into a smile as he recalled what Lu Yuan had said before. Lu Yuan had said that he wanted to establish an organization that could rival the Pontiff Palace and the Consecration Hall. Chihiro Snow had always been looking forward to this. He understood Lu Yuan. This rascal never spoke without thinking. He was a very arrogant person. Furthermore, his arrogance was hidden in his heart. Since he had said this, it meant that he was confident. Therefore, Chihiro Snow was even more curious about how Lu Yuan would operate and how he would rope in the various organizations. Chihiro Snow was thinking to himself. Suddenly, the snake spear Douluo walked in. Young Master Yuan is here. Chapter 333. Long time no see, share. Lu Yuan led Zhu Zhuqing into Chihiro Snow's study under the snake spear Douluo's welcoming. Indeed, it has been a long time. Chihiro Snow's eyes sparkled with affection. It had been almost 3 months since she had parted ways with Lu Yuan. She still missed the stinky guy in front of her. Chihiro Snow couldn't forget the pleasure she felt after interacting with him so intimately. Chihiro Snow's emotions fluctuated a little when she saw him again. However, Chihiro Snow was Chihiro Snow after all. He was very good at maintaining his composure. Even though he missed Lu Yuan very much, he didn't show it on his face. This was especially so when there were outsiders around. Chihiro Snow was very different from Hulena in this aspect. Hulena's love was as passionate as fire. It was as blinding as the sun. Anyone with a discerning eye could see her strong feelings for Lu Yuan. However, Chihiro Snow's love was like a fire burning under ice. Even though it was equally passionate, there was a layer of ice blocking it. If one didn't explore it carefully and break that layer of ice, they wouldn't be able to see Chihiro Snow's true feelings. Is this Zhu Zhuqing? Chihiro Snow turned his gaze and looked at Zhu Zhuqing, who was standing beside Lu Yuan. Yes, she is Zhuqing. I brought her here to see you today. Lu Yuan smiled and said. Oh. Chihiro Snow glanced at Lu Yuan. There was a doubtful look in his eyes. Seniors, can I ask you to leave for a moment? Lu Yuan smiled and said to the frenzied rhino Douluo and the other two. Oh. The three titled Douluo looked at each other and instantly understood. Then we'll leave first. Young Master Yuan, you can have a good chat with the young lady. The three of them walked out and closed the door behind them. Share, take off your disguise. You've scared Zhuqing. She thinks there's something wrong with my sexual orientation. Lu Yuan looked at the strange expression on Zhu Zhuqing's face. How could he not know what this girl was thinking? After all, Chihiro Snow was still using Xueqinghe's face. Hearing this, Qian Runxue curled her lips, but she did not refuse. Her palm lightly swept over, and immediately, the disguise was removed. Qian Runxue's beautiful appearance was revealed again. She had a head full of beautiful golden hair, arched eyebrows, and snow-white skin with a tinge of rosy pink. She had a high nose bridge, exquisite facial features, and a sacred aura. Not only did Lu Yuan's eyes light up, but even Zhu Zhuqing, who was also a girl, was a little stunned by her beauty. So beautiful. There was a hint of shock in Zhu Juqing's eyes. This was the first time she had seen a woman as beautiful as Qian Renxue. Her beauty could not be described with words. Anyway, among all the people Zhu Juqing had met, no one could compare to Qian Renxue. This included herself and Hulena. Both of them were already top-notch beauties in the world, but compared to Qian Renxue, the gap could still be seen with the naked eye. She somewhat understood why Lu Yuan could not forget Qian Renxue. It was love at first sight. If she were a man, she would have fallen in love with her at first sight. Chihiro Snow's beauty could conquer even a girl like her, let alone a man. Ha. Hearing Zhu Juqing's whisper, Chihiro Snow's beautiful face bloomed with a beautiful smile. Zhu Juqing, this girl, was quite interesting. Cher, you've become more beautiful. Lu Yuan took 2 steps forward and grasped Chihiro Snow's jade hand. There was a slight smile on his face. Don't give me that. Chihiro Snow's beautiful eyes glanced at Lu Yuan. This guy only knew how to say nice things to make her happy. Every time he disappeared for a few months or half a year, he didn't even think of coming to see her. What a heartless stinking man. Ha. Seeing Chihiro Snow's appearance, how could Lu Yuan not know that she missed him in her heart? She was just too embarrassed to say it. After all, Chihiro Snow had always been so proud. After not seeing each other for 3 months, Cher, who had her first taste, must have missed him very much. Don't ask him how he knew. It was because he had experienced it. However, he also had Hulena, so it was much better. On the other hand, Cher was probably having a hard time. Gently holding onto Chihiro Snow's waist, Lu Yuan was about to kiss her red lips. Unsurprisingly, he was blocked. Stinking guy, you only know how to mess around. Can't you see that there are still people here? Chihiro Snow said. It's okay, Zhu Qing is one of us. Lu Yuan said with a smile. Anyway, you two will be sisters in the future. What's the matter if you see her? Scram, you wish. Chihiro Snow gave Lu Yuan a punch. How could this guy be so helpless? You brought Zhu Juqing to see me. Aren't you afraid that my identity will be exposed? I am Xueqing her now. Chihiro Snow said meaningfully. I already said that Zhu Qing is one of us. Let me tell you a piece of news. Zhu Qing has already taken Elder Gui as her master. She is now a member of our martial soul palace. Are you relieved now? Lu Yuan said with a smile. In the past 2 months in the martial soul palace, other than being with Lu Yuan, Zhu Juqing would learn from Gui Douluo every day. Perhaps it was because of her outstanding talent that Gui Douluo valued her and took her in as his disciple. After all, Zhu Juqing was only 12 years old, but she was already rank 38. That's right, rank 38. In the past 3 months, Zhu Juqing had increased another rank. With such cultivation talent and a superb martial soul, Gui Douluo was naturally tempted. It was understandable that he wanted to pass down his legacy. Therefore, strictly speaking, Zhu Juqing was now a member of the martial soul palace. Of course, Zhu Juqing's strength had increased again. Lu Yuan naturally also had his strength increased. Now, his strength was already at rank 47. He had also increased by 1 rank. Oh, is that so? That's a good thing. Chihiro Snow nodded slightly. Zhu Juqing joining the martial soul palace meant that their martial soul palace had another genius with a boundless future. It was indeed something to be happy about. You didn't come this time just to bring Zhu Juqing to see me, right? There must be something else. Let's talk about it together, Chihiro Snow said with a smile. Indeed, the person who understands me the most is still you, Cher. Lu Yuan smiled and said, there's something I'd like to ask you for help with. What is it? Speak. Chihiro Snow said. There's no hurry. It won't be too late to talk about it after we sit down, Lu Yuan said. Okay. Chihiro Snow nodded slightly and softly acknowledged. Juqing, come, don't be in a daze. Lu Yuan looked at Zhu Juqing, who seemed to be a little surprised. He pulled her over and sat her down. He knew what this girl was thinking. Other than Cher's stunning appearance, it was definitely Cher's identity. After all, Xue Qinghe, the crown prince of Heaven Do, was actually the martial Soul Palace's holy maiden in disguise. Anyone who heard this news would be shocked. It was normal for Zhu Zhuqing to be stunned. Chapter 334. Sit down, Zhuqing. Lu Yuan pulled Zhu Zhuqing to a seat and poured her a cup of tea to calm her down. You're pretty good to her. Chihiro Snow rolled his eyes at Lu Yuan and said with a hint of jealousy. Am I not good to you? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. Mph, it's all right. Chihiro Snow snorted and said with a hint of pride. Thunder. Lu Yuan rolled his eyes at Chihiro Snow. His share was really good at everything, but she was a little thunder. She was already a terminal case of thunder cancer. He poured a cup of tea for Zhu Zhuqing, and she calmed down after taking 2 sips. She looked at Lu Yuan with a pair of big eyes that were filled with suspicion. I'll tell you when we get back. This has something to do with the Martial Soul Palace's plans. Cher's identity is the Martial Soul Palace's biggest secret. Lu Yuan said. Okay. Zhu Zhuqing nodded. Knowing that the crown prince of the Heaven Do Empire was actually the holy maiden of the Martial Soul Palace in disguise was too shocking. However, Zhu Zhuqing was no fool. She was also very smart. After thinking about it carefully, she had some guesses in her heart. It was just that this guess was too shocking. If it was true, then the Martial Soul Palace's plans were too big. Just thinking about it made her feel a little apprehensive. All right, stinky fellow. What do you want me to help you with? Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing talking and laughing. She felt a little jealous. This stinky fellow even brought Zhu Zhuqing to see her. She wanted to tell this stinky fellow what she wanted to tell him, but she was too embarrassed to say it out loud. This stinky fellow has no conscience. Actually, it's not a big deal. I just want to find a piece of land to build a base of operations. You're the crown prince of the Heaven Do Empire now. I'm sure you know a little about these things. Lu Yuan said. Chihiro Snow said, there's actually a piece of land that's quite suitable. It's not far from Heaven Do City, and there's a wide, flat plot of land that's surrounded by mountains and rivers. The environment is quite good, so it's not a bad place. Oh. Lu Yuan became interested and said, then this is the place. I'll have to trouble you, Cher, to accompany me to have a look. That's not a problem, but there's something I'm a little confused about. Stinky guy, can you help me clear up my doubts? Chihiro Snow asked. Go ahead. Lu Yuan smiled. What kind of business do you plan to develop after you establish this organization? You can't just sit there and do nothing, right? A large organization requires financial support. Although the Martial Soul Palace can provide you with money and has the ability to do so, that means you'll be restricted by the Martial Soul Palace. I don't believe that you're someone who's willing to be controlled by others. So you must have your own ideas, but I don't know what exactly you're thinking. Can you tell me? Chihiro Snow asked. Since Lu Yuan wanted to establish an organization that could rival the Imperial Palace and the Holy Hall, then he definitely wanted to control all of the power in his own hands, just like how Bibidon controlled the Pontiff Palace and Sendryu controlled the Holy Hall. With Chihiro Snow's understanding of Lu Yuan, this man was just like her. He liked to control everything in his own hands, and Lu Yuan's desire for control was even stronger than hers. He didn't believe that this guy was willing to share his power and let others cause trouble for him. Of course. Xue, don't you think soul tools can be considered an advantageous industry? Lu Yuan laughed. Soul tools? Isn't the technology to create soul tools lost a long time ago? Don't tell me. Chihiro Snow's beautiful eyes opened wide. Stinky guy, don't tell me you've obtained the technology to create soul tools? Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows and said, although it's not accurate, it's not far from it. Indeed, he hadn't obtained the technology to create soul tools yet. However, he would soon obtain the experience of a Class 6 soul engineer. When that happened, wouldn't it be equivalent to obtaining the technology to create soul tools? Hiss. Chihiro Snow immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Her beautiful eyes were a little stunned as she looked at Lu Yuan. Soul tools had been lost for a long time, and there were very few soul tools that were passed down. Normally, only noble families with extraordinary statuses or those with extraordinary opportunities could possess them. They were definitely rare items that could only be found by chance. If this stinky guy knew how to create soul tools, then he would definitely be able to make huge profits by creating soul tools and selling them. It would be more than enough to support a mere organization. However, she didn't know where this stinky guy had obtained the technology to create soul tools. How many secrets was this man hiding from her? After hearing that Lu Yuan had obtained the technology to create soul tools, Chihiro Snow wasn't the only one who was astonished. Even Zhu Zhuqing, who was beside them, was astonished. After all, soul tools were extremely precious. There weren't many people who could possess them. As the second daughter of the Zhu family, Zhu Zhuqing only had a soul tool ring that was only 10 cubic meters in size. How could she compare to others? Stinky guy, how many more things are you hiding from me? Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan with a questioning look in her eyes. This stinky guy actually has so many things that I don't know about. Does he really care about me? Seeing Chihiro Snow like this, Lu Yuan felt a little headache. He had actually forgotten about this matter. Chihiro Snow was a very controlling woman. She hated it when he hid things from her. This was because she would feel that Lu Yuan didn't trust her enough, and that he didn't love her enough. However, the key was that Lu Yuan had only just found out that the system would reward him with the experience of creating a Class 6 soul tool. He didn't know about this beforehand. How could he tell Chihiro Snow? Listen to my explanation. Lu Yuan stood up and walked over to Chihiro Snow's side. He hugged her. It was better to explain this matter to Cher first. He didn't want her to think that he didn't trust her enough. Tell me. Chihiro Snow didn't struggle as she was hugged by Lu Yuan. She only glared at Lu Yuan with her beautiful eyes. She and this stinky guy had already been honest, but this stinky guy was still hiding things from her. How could Chihiro Snow feel good about it? It's not that I don't want to tell you. It's just that I didn't have the time to tell you about this soul tools creation technique. Lu Yuan said. Is that so? Qian Runxue looked at him suspiciously and said, then tell me, where did you get the crafting skills for this soul tool? I didn't know that the Martial Soul Palace had something like this. Of course it's not from the Martial Soul Palace. Elder Long gave it to me. Lu Yuan lied through his teeth. Is it from the Dragon Emperor? Chihiro Snow asked. Yes. Elder Long obtained this soul tools creation technique from an ancient ruin when he was young. It's just that Elder Long wasn't interested in it. That's why he kept it with him. This time, he specially gave it to me when he found out that I wanted to establish my own organization. Lu Yuan said seriously. At the same time, Long Xiaoyao, who was standing guard outside the door, was speechless. Chapter 335. Really? Chihiro Snow was a little doubtful. Where else do you think I got it from? I can't possibly conjure it out of thin air, Lu Yuan said. That's true. Chihiro Snow nodded. This soul tools manufacturing technique had been lost for a long time. How could it be so easy to obtain? However, if it was the Dragon Emperor Douluo, who was an ultimate Douluo, it might be possible. After all, he was very strong, and his background was very mysterious. He must have been to many places. It was possible that he had obtained this soul tools manufacturing technique from some ancient ruins. Rascal, you can't hide anything from me in the future, Chihiro Snow said. Yes, I promise, Lu Yuan said. I promise, but I didn't say whether I promised to hide anything from you or not. That's more like it. Chihiro Snow relaxed a little as she lay in Lu Yuan's embrace. This embrace was too comfortable. Chihiro Snow had missed it very much. Even though Zhu Zhuqing was here, she couldn't control her desire. Lu Yuan was very relaxed as he hugged Chihiro Snow and smelled Chihiro Snow's fragrance. Lu Yuan wanted to take it a step further. However, considering that Zhu Zhuqing was beside them, he suppressed his thoughts. Yes, rascal, I have another question. Chihiro Snow said. Ask away. Lu Yuan laughed. This soul tool is so high-end. It should be very expensive. Do you have that much money? Let's not talk about other things. At the very least, you have to consider the cost of the organization's foundation, construction, and metal. Do you have that much money? Chihiro Snow asked. No. But someone does. Lu Yuan said. Who is it? Chihiro Snow was a little curious. The Seven Treasures Glazed Sect. They're the richest sect in the world. They shouldn't be short of money. Lu Yuan laughed and said. You have a way to get the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect to help you. Soul tools might be precious, but they shouldn't have much of an impact on them. They shouldn't lack these things. After all, with their wealth, even if soul tools are rare, they should have some in their collection. Chihiro Snow raised his doubts. Cher, your understanding of soul tools is too one-sided. Soul tools aren't limited to storage-type soul tools. There are also defensive soul tools, close combat soul tools, long-range soul tools, flying-type soul tools, and so on. It can be said that the power of soul tools is extremely great. They can allow an auxiliary-type soul master to have the offensive power of an assault-type soul master. Think about it. If there's a chance for a soul master from the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda to fight, wouldn't Ning Fengji seize it? Lu Yuan's lips curled up slightly. There are so many types of soul tools. Chihiro Snow was astonished, but he immediately reacted. If this soul tool was used on the Soul Master Legions of the Martial Soul Palace, then, you've thought of something? Seeing Chihiro Snow's expression, Lu Yuan instantly understood what Chihiro Snow was thinking about. He said, as long as the production of soul tools is developed to a certain extent, we can equip the Soul Master Legions of the Martial Soul Palace. When the most elite Soul Master Legions are paired with the most advanced soul tools, their strength will make the two empires tremble. It won't be difficult for them to unify the continent. Stinky fellow. Chihiro Snow's beautiful eyes sparkled as he looked at Lu Yuan. It turned out that this fellow had thought so far ahead. She had to admit that in terms of foresight, she couldn't compare to this stinky fellow in front of her. This stinky fellow's foresight was really far-sighted. With soul tools, aren't you afraid that Ning Fengji won't submit and that the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect will support the Heaven Do imperial family? Lu Yuan's lips curled into a disdainful smile as he said, to these so-called sects, everything is just benefits. When they enjoy the benefits of soul tools, they have no choice but to submit even if they don't want to. After all, with soul tools, the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect strength is just around the corner. However, all of this is given to him by me. If he wants it, he has to listen. Otherwise, he will be beaten back to his original state. Without the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect's support, what will the Heaven Do Empire be left with? Sooner or later, it will be in our hands. Lu Yuan said. Yes, this is an open scheme. Even if Ning Fengji has some reservations, he has no choice but to fall for it in the face of such a huge temptation. Stinky fellow, your schemes are getting better and better. You hit the heart directly. Chihiro Snow's eyes were filled with pride as she looked at Lu Yuan. This was Chihiro Snow's man. Haha, it's all right. Lu Yuan pinched Chihiro Snow's nose as he said. To deal with an old fox like Ning Fengji, any scheme could be seen through. On the contrary, for such an open scheme, even if it was seen through, Hu Yuhao had no choice but to join in. A rare opportunity to strengthen the sect and completely rid the direct disciples of the sect of their lack of fighting strength. A stalk of immortal herb that could allow the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda to evolve into the Nine Treasures Glazed Pagoda. In addition to the promise that his position in the sect wouldn't be affected in the future, the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect was in his hands. This was Lu Yuan's current plan. Listening to the conversation between Chihiro Snow and Lu Yuan, Zhu Zhuqing was shocked. They were actually plotting against the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect. Furthermore, Lu Yuan's words indicated that the Martial Soul Palace actually had the ambition to unify the mainland. Zhu Zhuqing couldn't help but be shocked. Her initial guess was actually right. However, looking at the pharaoh-like Lu Yuan, a trace of infatuation flashed across Zhu Zhuqing's eyes. Since she had already chosen this man, then no matter what he did, she would support him. If he wanted to unify the mainland, then so be it. She just needed to follow in his footsteps. This was the purest thought in Zhu Zhuqing's heart. Looking at the pride and splendor in Chihiro Snow's eyes, Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Do you have any other questions?" "No." Chihiro Snow shook her head slightly. "Since you don't have any more questions, then let me do it." Lu Yuan chuckled. Under Chihiro Snow's gaze, he directly kissed her red lips and began to taste without restraint. Suddenly attacked by Lu Yuan, Chihiro Snow was shocked. Then, she completely lost herself under Lu Yuan's lead and began to cater to him. After a long time, their lips parted. Chihiro Snow blushed and lightly punched Lu Yuan. "There are still people watching." "Ah, it's fine. I already said that Zhu Qing is one of us." Lu Yuan chuckled and gently let go of Chihiro Snow. Then, he pulled Zhu Zhuqing into his arms and covered her red lips as she cried out in surprise. With his left hand around Zhu Zhuqing's waist, Lu Yuan chuckled and said to Chihiro Snow, "See, isn't it fine now?" Chapter 336. Being attacked and kissed by Lu Yuan in front of Chihiro Snow, Zhu Zhuqing was so embarrassed that her face turned red. She hid her head deep in Lu Yuan's arms, feeling a little embarrassed. She was shy to begin with, and only Lu Yuan would be able to let it go. However, with Qian Renxue around, she was already shy to the point of shyness. "Stinking brat, you only know how to be a hooligan." Chihiro Snow glared fiercely at Lu Yuan. He dared to kiss Zhu Zhuqing in front of her. This stinking brat was getting more and more arrogant. "Hehe, it's not the first day you know me. Others might not know that I like to be a hooligan, but don't tell me you don't know." Lu Yuan didn't feel embarrassed at Chihiro Snow's words. Instead, he felt proud of it. "Bah!" Chihiro Snow secretly spat. "So, Cher, come here too." Lu Yuan's somewhat teasing voice sounded. "What?" Before Chihiro Snow could finish her words, Lu Yuan suddenly grabbed her lily-white hands. A huge force came over, and Chihiro Snow's delicate body directly sank into his arms. His right hand tightly hugged her waist. This time, he really had two beauties in his arms. His left hand hugged Zhu Zhuqing, and his right hand hugged Chihiro Snow. He had to admit that the feeling of having two beauties in his arms was really good. "Stinking brat, let go of me." Chihiro Snow struggled with all her might, but how could her strength be Lu Yuan's opponent? She was tightly hugged by Lu Yuan, and couldn't break free at all. "Don't move, Cher. My current strength is close to 70,000 jin. It's useless for you to struggle. Obediently accept your fate," Lu Yuan said as he kissed Chihiro Snow's face. "Humph. Big pervert, stinking hooligan." Chihiro Snow cursed and stopped struggling. He lowered his head and lay quietly in Lu Yuan's arms. On the other side, Zhu Zhuqing was the same. The two beauties stared at each other and sighed at the same time. They had no choice but to meet a man like Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan hugged the two beauties, one on his left and one on his right. His heart was bursting with satisfaction. If he could have a senior sister on his back and Nao on his front, then he would have no regrets in life. However, after thinking about it, Lu Yuan shook his head. Helena was easy to deal with. As long as she could get rid of Chihiro Snow's hostility towards her, she could do it whenever she wanted. But Jiu Yuana, thinking of Jiu Yuana's beautiful face, Lu Yuan couldn't help but shudder. Don't be fooled by her gentle and calm appearance, she was actually the most difficult to deal with. Whether she could accept Chihiro Snow and the others was really a big problem. She was also very strong. If she really threw a tantrum, Lu Yuan couldn't do anything except watch. So for the time being, he had to put aside this unrealistic idea. He would think about it again when he was strong enough to suppress her. However, this might take a long time. As for now, it was better to hug Cher and Zhu Qing. Looking at the two women lying quietly in his arms, Lu Yuan's mouth curved into a gentle smile. It was his greatest fortune to have them in this life. "Cher, today you can be considered to have met Zhu Qing." In the future, you can't bully her. Lu Yuan's chin gently rubbed Chihiro Snow's hair and said with a smile. Do I look like a narrow-minded woman? Chihiro Snow raised her head and glared at Lu Yuan with her beautiful eyes. Her eyes were filled with deep dissatisfaction. Of course not. My share is the most generous. It's just that you know your personality. You are too domineering. Sometimes, you are indeed a little overbearing. I just want you to get along well. I don't want any unhappiness between you two, Lu Yuan said. What about her? Chihiro Snow looked at Zhu Zhuqing. I'm not worried about Zhu Qing. She is stubborn and quiet. She is also a little shy. She is very easy to get along with. She is not the kind of person who likes to cause trouble. I'm mainly worried about you. Cher, the people I care about the most are the few of you. You don't want to make things difficult for me, right? Lu Yuan said. These words were spoken from the bottom of Lu Yuan's heart. He had to admit that Chihiro Snow's personality was indeed a little domineering. It was fine for a while, but if they continued to get along with each other, such a domineering personality would inevitably lead to some problems. That was not what he wanted to see. After all, they were all his women. They were all his flesh. Therefore, he could only remind Chihiro Snow in advance. I know. Chihiro Snow lowered her head. She was a little depressed. She also knew that Lu Yuan was right, but she still felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. Sensing that Chihiro Snow was a little depressed, Lu Yuan moved closer to Chihiro Snow and whispered in her ear, After all, Cher, you are the main wife. You should have a little breadth of mind and magnanimity, right? That's true. Chihiro Snow's mood immediately recovered. She was the mistress of the harem. Indeed, she should have some magnanimity. Wasn't it just getting along with Zhu Zhuqing? This was not a problem for Chihiro Snow. I knew that, Cher, you are the best. You understand me the best. Lu Yuan smiled and kissed Chihiro Snow's red lips. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow snorted. She did not say anything. She just lay quietly in Lu Yuan's arms, enjoying this rare silence. Cher, then I will leave first. In the room, Lu Yuan pulled Zhu Zhuqing and Chihiro Snow to bid farewell. Chihiro Snow helped Lu Yuan tidy up his clothes and said softly, Where are you going next? Let's go to Sunset Forest and subdue Douluo while we're at it. My plan can already be carried out. Once I'm ready, it'll be time to invite Ning Fengji into my trap. Perhaps I'll need your help then, Lu Yuan smiled. Then you should be careful. Douluo's temper is not that good, Chihiro Snow said. Don't worry. Elder Long is here. If he dares to do anything, Elder Long will teach him a lesson. Lu Yuan smiled. What about Zhu Zhuqing? Is she going with you? Chihiro Snow asked. Lu Yuan nodded. If she doesn't follow me, Zhuqing has nowhere to go. She can't possibly stay here with you. That's true. Chihiro Snow nodded slightly. Oh right, Cher, I have to bring the frenzy rhino Douluo along with me. I have to make him look good, Lu Yuan said. All right. He has always been following you. It is inconvenient for him to stay here with me. He might even arouse suspicion. He has been hiding in the dark for the past few years. It is good that you can bring him along, Chihiro Snow said. All right, then I will leave. Lu Yuan smiled and said to Chihiro Snow, We are about to part. Let's have a goodbye kiss. Rascal. Chihiro Snow shook his head helplessly. However, he did not reject. He took a step forward and gently pressed his red lips against Lu Yuan's. After that, he quickly retreated. With Cher's kiss, I am indeed full of energy. Lu Yuan smiled and caressed Chihiro Snow's cheek. After that, he pulled Zhu Zhuqing and turned to leave. After leaving the Crown Prince's residence, the few of them headed straight for Sunset Forest. Chapter 337. Setting Sun Forest. A few figures slowly appeared. Lu Yuan held Zhu Zhuqing's hand as they walked in front. Long Xiaoyaro and the frenzied rhino Douluo followed behind them. The setting sun forest was huge. Douluo's place seemed difficult to find, but that wasn't the case. The Icefire Yin-Yang Well was one of the 3 great treasure basins in the world. It could naturally nurture extraordinary herbs, and even immortal herbs could be found inside. It wasn't hard to imagine how dense the spiritual energy inside was. Plants could grow 10 times faster in the Icefire Yin-Yang Well. It was a paradise for plant-type creatures. Only 10,000 years had passed in the outside world, but the immortal herbs inside had already grown into 100,000-year soul beasts. This place was indeed a treasure trove for plant-type soul beasts. Therefore, they only had to look for the place with the densest spiritual energy to find the Icefire Yin-Yang Well. Lu Yuan wasn't good at anything else, but his senses were top-notch. This was his innate spiritual sense. After obtaining the clear air divine seed, Lu Yuan was especially sensitive to the changes in spiritual energy. Therefore, it wasn't difficult to find the Icefire Yin-Yang Well. Long Xiaoyaro was an ultimate Douluo, so they could easily find the right direction. Everyone proceeded forward slowly, and the number of soul beasts started to decrease. A white mist started to permeate the forest, and there were also wisps of purple mist mixed in. This was the poison array that Douluo had set up outside the Icefire Yin-Yang Well. With Douluo's knowledge of poisons, other than the fact that he couldn't cure himself, he was indeed one of the best in the continent. Apart from the Poji clan and Tangsan, Douluo was probably the most knowledgeable about poison in the world. Faced with this poison array, Lu Yuan wasn't dejected. Instead, he was very happy. This meant that he had found the right place. "Master, be careful. There's a poison array in front," Long Xiaoyaro reminded him. "I know. Zhuqing, come and hug me," Lu Yuan said to Zhu Zhuqing, who was beside him. "What?" Zhu Zhuqing was a little stunned as she looked at Lu Yuan. Although she and Lu Yuan had done everything except the last step, it wasn't good for them to be so intimate in public. "Just do as I say. Hold on tight," Lu Yuan said. "All right." Zhu Zhuqing blushed and hugged Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan lowered his head slightly. Zhu Zhuqing hugged his neck and wrapped her legs around his waist. Her entire body was in close contact with him. Especially the pressure brought by that pair of full breasts, it really made Lu Yuan's heart stop. Lu Yuan's left hand wrapped around Zhu Zhuqing's waist. His body emitted a dazzling golden light, and layers of golden diamond-shaped armor wrapped around the two of them. "My golden dragon armor is immune to all poisons. Have you forgotten?" Lu Yuan said to Zhu Zhuqing, who was in his arms. "Yes." Zhu Zhuqing finally understood why Lu Yuan asked her to hug him. "Let's go." With Zhu Zhuqing in his arms, Lu Yuan stepped into the poison array. With the golden dragon armor protecting him, he was immune to all poisons. Naturally, Zhu Zhuqing was the same. Although the golden dragon armor could be extended, there was a distance. That was why he asked Zhu Zhuqing to hug him closer. This way, he could wrap Zhu Zhuqing up perfectly. As for Long Xiaoyaro and the Frenzy Rhino Douluo, they were both titled Soul Masters. Even the poisons from Douluo's soul skills might not be effective against them, let alone a mere poison array. With Zhu Zhuqing in his arms, Lu Yuan walked in front. With Lu Yuan's current strength, Zhu Zhuqing, who weighed more than 100 pounds, was as light as a feather in his arms. Zhu Zhuqing was slightly taller, but her figure was very slim. As for why she weighed more than 100 pounds, there was no need to talk about it. She knew what she needed to know. "Zhuqing, do you remember what we did in the ruins? We did the same thing back then, when we were killing the bloodthirsty demon vines and retrieving the blood crystals." Lu Yuan laughed. "Yes, I remember." Zhu Zhuqing's voice carried a tinge of joy as she said, "Now that I think about it, it's all thanks to that 1,000-year bloodthirsty demon vine. If not for it, we wouldn't have confirmed our relationship so quickly. It's because of it that I was severely injured, and you treated my injuries. That's why we," as she spoke till here, Zhu Zhuqing's face turned a little red. "Yes, you were very shy back then. I said that I would take responsibility for you, and I'll do it. Kitty, I didn't go back on my words, did I?" Lu Yuan laughed. "No." Zhu Zhuqing suddenly mustered her courage. Without the two titled Douluo noticing, she secretly kissed Lu Yuan on the lips. She blushed and said softly, "I'm really glad that I met you when I was at my most helpless. Although you're a little fickle, you're the best man in the world to me." Zhu Zhuqing's tone was firm, and her words were filled with affection. Lu Yuan felt a little warm in his heart. He subconsciously hugged Zhu Zhuqing a little tighter and said softly, "Zhuqing, you're also the one and only kitty in my heart. You're my true love. I'll treat you well for the rest of my life." "Okay." Zhu Zhuqing leaned gently on Lu Yuan's body. There was a blissful look on her face. Long Xiaoyao and the frenzied rhino Douluo's lips twitched when they saw the two of them flaunting their affection in the poison array. They were bullying them because they were single. This was especially so for Long Xiaoyao. This wasn't the first time this had happened. He was already full from all the public displays of affection. If not for the fact that Lu Yuan was their master, Long Xiaoyao would have flipped the table. However, he still had to obediently follow behind Lu Yuan now. After all, Lu Yuan was their master. After passing through the layers of poison arrays, they finally arrived at the interior. Lu Yuan looked into the distance. Not far from the valley beneath their feet, white fog lingered in the air for a long time. On the ground, there was a patch of lush greenery. Lu Yuan's polychoria flashed slightly. He could see a circular lake beneath the layers of white fog. Half of it was milky white, while the other half was fiery red. It exuded a strange aura. "I've finally found it." Lu Yuan's lips curled into a smile. This treasure land was a great help to him. The golden dragon armor on his body slowly faded. Lu Yuan placed Zhu Zhuqing down. Now that the poison arrays were gone, there was no need for them to be so intimate. After all, there were people watching from the side. They were two old men. It didn't seem good for them to continue being so intimate. Furthermore, Lu Yuan just recalled that the vast sea cosmic shroud seemed to be able to isolate the poison arrays. Zhu Zhuqing didn't seem to need to carry him in to enter the vast sea cosmic shroud. However, Lu Yuan ignored this sudden thought. He decided that the next time he went out, he would do what he did today. As for why, it was because he wanted to feel the pressure again. There seemed to be nothing wrong with that. Lu Yuan thought to himself. They were getting closer and closer to their destination. Just as Lu Yuan was about to step into the Icefire Yin-Yang well, the system's voice sounded. "Sign-in begins. Sign-in time, 5 minutes. Countdown begins." You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,